we should get to topic because we have a lot to talk about today, right?
We do.
Yeah, another instance of Scots talk, number 3. This one's gonna be about making kilts and wearing kilts. This is the presentation we got. I'm guessing it's still the same link, right?
Yeah, same stuff.
All right, perfect. So, where do we begin with the kilts?
I suppose we start with what is a kilt?
Yeah, and Shark Dog is already asking that looked more like a tartan. And guess what? Guess what, Shark Dog? That's the name of the pattern. It's nothing different.
Noted.
Just setting it up. Well, okay, I guess we should just like jump right into it because chat is already setting up misconceptions.
The rumors are starting.
The rumor mill.
Rumor mill?
Alright, so I am what? You're setting up rumors, Shark Dog. So kilts started well, a long time ago, I guess, but the what was it, 16th century, like oldest version of the kilt was a little bit more full of material, right?
Yeah, so oh god, chef. We have to go way further back for chef.
What is a kilt? I mean, okay, we should probably just like define what makes a kilt.
Yeah. What makes a kilt? A kilt is basically a garment that it looks like a knee-length pleated skirt, but it's called something different. But we call it a kilt. It's just a length of woven wool, which is usually in tartan, which is the pattern, and you pleat it around the back of where you're wearing it, and then the front of it is more flat.
Before you go very far with how the kilt is looks like, I also want to ask from the get-go, is the kilt something that is specific to Scotland only?
I would say in the way that it's constructed today it is. Back in ye old days, like talking very, very early AD, it was probably more of a Celtic thing. So there would have been tribal groups in Ireland, Britain, the European continent, probably in Eurasia as well, who would have worn something like it, because it's a very practical piece of clothing for colder climates. But for the last 500 odd years, specifically to Scotland.
Ireland had them too, right? Bard is asking.
Yeah, exactly. Ireland and Scotland for a long time were basically sort of the same country in a way, in what you would call countries today. So they had their own version of stuff like the kilt, which then eventually diverged and theirs became more of a wrap, whereas ours became what we now know today as the kilt, which you can see on screen.
So they still wear stuff like a wrap kind of in Ireland, or is that like totally gone?
That's totally gone now. Yeah. I
see. I was trying to like get my camera to not cover the text there, but it's a little hard now. So yeah, then that we've established kind of where people wear kilts or what it is specific to at these days. We can look at how it used to look back in the day, in the early days. So you have the great kilt and you have the small kilt.
Would you like me to read
at the origins? Yes, because I cannot.
So the great kilt, or filet mor, which loosely translated just means a large wrap, or
over here
you could call it, or you could call it bricken and filet, which again basically just means wrapped around you in a tartan pattern. And
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm noticing already that there seem to be slight different ways of wrapping the cloth around you, even with the large wrap. So because I see this is the unwrapped piece of wool, And then you had also. Do I need to stream? I might need to show you my screen so you actually see what I'm pointing at.
Oh, I can see it on. I can see it on screen. There's like a little thing on Canva for where you're pointing at.
Oh yeah, okay, perfect. Because I was afraid you would have a delay. Yeah.
Yeah, like Chef says in chat, it's like a big blanket. That's why it was so good for people living in the Highlands, because the Highlands are about 5 or 7 degrees colder than the Lowlands, and you're talking about big mountainous areas with not very much good coverage, and especially if you were living on the Western Isles, you were getting battered by the Atlantic Sea. So having just this, what is essentially just a big wrap that you can put around yourself. If you need to put it over your head when it's raining, you can do that. You can put it down if it gets a bit hot. And you can also, many people would have used it as a blanket for sleeping in as well.
Yeah, very multifunctional. But I do see several kind of ways to wrap around. There's this one that is kind of just wrapped around the waist. I guess this would be if you're too warm and you kind of let it down.
Yeah.
This one seems like it's only draped on one shoulder while the other side is hanging. Here you have both sides covering your shoulders and covering also your arms in front, making these big sleeves. I don't quite understand what this guy is doing.
So that guy's just wrapping up warm. He's just wrapping up. He's going for a trek through the wilderness, and he's just wanting to keep warm for a bit.
Yeah, so this is kind of like halfway through doing the wrap. It's just showing the process, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right.
Also, blockchain. Very good joke, but there is actually something later that we might come to.
Yeah, we're gonna come back to that joke in a bit. Don't worry, Block.
I'm really glad you said it though.
Yeah.
Oh no, you don't get to say that in chat, and then no, it comes back to bite you. I'm sorry.
Yeah. You just doomed yourself. All right, and the small kilt we have in this other picture only has basically the cloth mostly hanging down, but then there's a part of it that is attached to the shoulder.
Yeah, so what you're looking at there is essentially what's on the first image with the big kilt. Just cut off the top half and leave the rest going down to around about your knee length. And then the rest of the cloth is just sort of being thrown over the shoulder, which is a separate sort of accessory that we'll come on to later.
So the accessory on the shoulder is not actually connected to the skirt?
It's not, no. So it's attached to the little epaulette that you can see on the jacket.
Right. I wasn't sure if it was just like a part of the wrap that then went up and then got attached up here, but no, it's two different accessories. Cool. Then let's go to the next page where we have some swagger from monarchy, the members of the monarchy. Well, also Colonel Alistair Ranaldson. Damn it, I am really covering up the text. Well, okay. Trust me, it is there. I'm gonna just hide myself temporarily. Actually, I need to also hide Angus temporarily.
We put ourselves at the top because I'm fairly certain that there's no important stuff at the top corners.
Yeah, I think that will work better. Yeah. Okay.
Sandbard, I love that. Nice kilt, Alistair.
What is that referencing? Do we know? Or is it just what Sandbar talks like? More like monarch.
It's a Lewis thing. Lewis was on a stream with Perion playing Dota, and Alistair, the guy that made Plate Up, did a thing, and Lewis went, "Nice jump, Alistair."
Oh, that's what it is. Okay, gotcha. Well, I guess Flex is just very proper like that. Okay, I've moved ourselves at the top. So, did you just show these dudes for their swag, or did you want to say something specific about them?
No, just pretty much looking at their swag. You've got King George IV, who very famously, well, at least famously in Scotland, wore the kilt when he came to Edinburgh in 1822 to do a big parade. He had all the clan chiefs there, and he got himself made a very expensive kilt. It was probably the first king to actually wear a kilt in Scotland or in England.
But he was English.
He was German.
Really?
He was the German king of England and Scotland.
Oh, wow. And he decided that he wanted to culturally promote the kilt in Scotland, or like let everybody wear it. Was he the one who kind of did that?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, there's a little bit down. Me and Anka have got our own list of different things to talk about. And one of them is miscellaneous. And one of them is basically about, for a long period of time, kilts weren't really allowed. Sort of. Are you going to get up on the screen just now? Is that what you're doing?
Huh?
Oh, I was just wondering. I could see you flickering there. I was wondering if you were getting it up on stream or.
No, the thing is, I'm just realizing that I forgot to have my document on the other screen because I hadn't opened it. Yeah, just ignore that. So
basically, George IV became very enamored by a historian and novelist called Walter Scott, who was very interested in reinventing the image of Highlanders and Scottish culture and stuff, because at the time it had sort of become a symbol of anti-Britishness and anti-monarchy. So he wanted to do a lot of work of reinventing it. And George IV loved his stuff because this was 100 years or so after all of the sort of rebellion stuff had happened. So now it was sort of about romanticizing it, romanticizing the enemy that we once had, who are now our friends. And as part of that, the event in Edinburgh was set up, and Walter Scott encouraged George to wear the kilt, and he loved the idea because he was a very flamboyant person, famously. He loved the idea of getting dressed up and going off and doing something very fancy.
Well, yeah, I mean, he sure managed with that outfit. Look at those feathers. Look at that horsehair on his pouch. Also, hello, Chaotic.
Hi, Chaotic.
Check out the legs on Charlie. I mean, they all have pretty toned legs, I would say. It's a sporan. Yes, it is, Chef. I'm just not using the terms yet.
No, you were right. I think it's probably horsehair that they've used on it.
I mean,
something a bit fancier, perhaps.
Yeah, that's possible, but so far the only times I've seen horsehair, it was like white on the background, and it seemed to be kind of the same thing. Yeah. So what about Bonnie Prince Charlie? Also, can you tell me what Bonnie actually means?
Bonnie means like beautiful, lovely, nice.
Wow.
Like the Bonnie Banks of Loch Lomond. Beautiful.
I just wanted to make sure, that I understood that song.
Yeah. But yeah, Bonnie Prince Charlie basically was the guy that George's grandfather was fighting against, essentially. Bonnie Prince Charlie was the Chef. Do you know what, Chef? Same. I wasn't a fan of Scottish history. So Chef just being bored in chat talking about Stuarts.
Yeah, it probably reminds some of the people in chat too much of school, but come on, this is more interesting.
I hope so, yeah. Yeah, this guy basically led a rebellion against his grandfather because Bonnie Prince Charlie believed that his father James was the rightful king, rather than this sort of German interloper, to use his words.
Oh, wow.
I think we've very briefly mentioned Jacobites before. Jacobites, that's what this is all about, the rebellions.
I'm going to maybe move on to the next thing, because I think we shouldn't get too much into the history side yet, because actually we had a whole section at the end about the, let's say, miscellaneous relevant history stuff, and if we talk about it now before we've actually looked at any of the fashion, let's say, it might get too dry.
Yeah.
German interloper, you mean a more efficient ruler? Sure, Shark Dog. Right. So could we also leave the Battle of Culloden for after? We will get back to this. But let's just look at more hung dudes wearing tartan stuff. So, why does this say Jonathan?
Yeah, so I have to give a quick shout out. So this is one of my Kiltmaker friends.
This
And
this person in the first picture.
yes, so him and his partner Mathilde, who made my kilt, they very kindly gave a few photos from the work that they do to basically show how they make kilts and stuff.
Oh wow! I didn't know that some of these pictures were actually from your kilt makers.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So, shout out to Jonathan. Yeah, the original programmer socks. Well, they do be cozy. So how many of these photos are from the kilt manufacturers you're talking about? And what are they even called? Like, do they have a specific business name
They
that you want
do.
to share?
They do. I can link it in chat.
Link their socials.
I could link their socials as well, honestly, and they do use Instagram.
I mean, if anybody in chat wants to get a kilt made, then it sounds like you should go for these folks.
Oh, it's not doxy at all. Don't worry, chef. But yeah, if you're on Instagram, then Old Alliance Kilt Makers. They're both French originally. They're New Scots, as we call people who've moved here, New Scots. And Old Alliance refers to the alliance that Scotland and France used to have back in the day.
Oh, interesting.
But yeah, that's their Instagram if people want to check it out. They also have a website, which is Old Alliance Kilt Makers, if you want to look at them.
I mean, also, I like how they model their own work.
They've got some fantastic photographs of different things. But yeah,
I see.
is just an example of sort of what men look like in kilts. I should say it's going to say men's and women's kilts, but we're talking traditional phrasing here. You know, obviously people can wear a kilt however they want to wear it, regardless of gender.
Yeah, I mean, we should also establish how free things are to wear these days. I mean, we can talk about that in a bit, but there's apparently not so much of a restriction on wearing kilts as one might think. So
no, I'm trying to remember. Somebody said in chat earlier, was it you, Shark Dog?
I think it was Shark Dog.
Yeah, whether it would be cultural appropriation to wear a kilt. Absolutely not. You know, let's get that one out of the way, that people can wear a kilt if they want. At the end of the day, it's just a bit of fashion, you know. There's a lot. Is there a lot of meaning behind it nowadays? Yes. Shark Dog.
Maybe asking for a potentially sometimes cross-dressing friend. What is the difference between men's and women's kilts? I mean, we can get into that. I just wanted to address this comment about cultural appropriation. I think maybe that is more of a problem with cultures that have been historically oppressed and hurt by colonialism and stuff like this, right?
Yeah, and I wouldn't consider Scotland one of those. I know that there are some people who might, but I vehemently disagree with that statement, and particularly when it comes to kilts. Kilts are, people can wear a kilt if they want, you know. If you can afford it, then go and get one. But the difference between men's and women's kilts, it's mostly just the length of the kilt. So a man's kilt, historically, will... Simon, fuck's sake.
Hello, Simon.
Hello, Simon.
They are skirts. Look, let's also get this one out of the way. Is it a problem to call them skirts?
Not really. Well, I mean, if you're English like Simon, then, you know, sure. But
okay,
I'm joking. Obviously joking. And no.
Is it because like it still seems to, people still seem to think that if you call them a skirt, you might be insulting the Scots?
I mean, if we know that like you're just having a good joke, then yeah, like Chef says, it's the intent. If you're doing it as just a bit of a laugh, then yeah, you know, it is basically a skirt, isn't it? But if you're just like, Scottish people wearing skirts, aren't you silly? I mean, first of all, assuming you're talking about a man wearing a kilt, that does kind of come with some slight gendered bias as well, and that's, gendered clothing and men can't wear women's wear and it looks a bit silly sort of mentality, which I think we're past now in 2023 anyway.
Well, depends who you ask, but
yeah, no, calling it a skirt is not really a problem unless you're like really just using it as an insult.
okay. Well, that makes sense. I mean, if you're just trying to be purely descriptive, like this is how a skirt is normally cut, so of course it is a skirt essentially, then it's not really a problem.
Nah.
Yeah.
But to Shark Dog's original question, it depends on the length of it. Typically, a man's skirt. See, now I'm doing it. A man's kilt would be to the knee, and then a women's kilt or kilted skirt would be below the knee, or it would be above the knee, like the examples here. But Matilda's wearing one that is sort of close to what a man's kilt would be anyway.
So that length is also something. Oh no, that's not where I wanted to go. So the men's kilts basically kind of end right at the knee, traditionally.
Yeah.
While women's can just basically have a variety of lengths. Wait, what is Simon saying? It doesn't help that none of these photos show the other bits that go with proper dress. We did have that for men's. You just came in late, Simon.
Yeah, we're going to get to the stuff later, Simon. We've got a whole thing we're going through. We're doing the basics right now.
Go back a few. Well, of course you can look at these guys wearing, the monarchs, but yeah, we do go over all the accessories that you can have for kilts, so don't worry. Right. What is with this slide? Don't know why you were showing this. You were just meaning to show, I suppose, all the different occasions that you can wear a kilt at. So mostly it's a dressy occasion that people wear it for, like weddings and black tie events, I suppose. Or if you're in the, what is it called? Scottish Royal Army?
Royal Regiment.
Royal Regiment, that's right. They also have their own kilt uniforms. But of course, there are also sports events where people just go wearing kilts in Scotland, apparently. Quite a sight there. And these guys with their t-shirts.
This is going to be Germany next year. We just qualified last night for Euro 2024, so this is Germany next year.
Wow.
This is going to be happening in Germany.
Well, I guess the invasion...
Scots walking around in kilts.
Tartan Army. Right. That's actually what they call it, right? The football fans that go dressed up like that. Or am I...
the Tartan Army.
Yeah. Very professional stream. What are you talking about? Of course it is. Right. And here, I guess it looks like it's a dancing contest. The last one.
So this is Highland dancing.
Okay.
So this is women wearing kilted skirts for that, but also there's guys wearing kilts in the background as well.
Right. Let's see. Now we're getting more into how exactly you fold a kilt. But maybe this is it a bit early to show this? No, we could actually talk about length, weight, and then also the pleating, right? We didn't mention that there are specific lengths that kilts, that for the cloth that the kilts are made of. So you have typically 5 yards or 8 yards, or translated 4.6 meters and 7.3 meters. And you have the 5-yard kilts that are a bit more cost-friendly, but the 8-yard kilts look nicer because you have more cloth that dangles around, I suppose. Okay, you also wrote here the modern kilt originally the kilt consisted of 4 yards of material, but soldiers wanted on parade nicer looking pleats. So they slowly increased the amount of cloth that went into it. And you can have different, let's say, material density, different weight that the cloth comes in. There's lightweight. you wrote here ounces, which I forgot to actually ask if we were supposed to actually put this into metric, because I don't know what ounces mean. But you can have lightweight.
This means either.
Yeah, we don't have to explain. It's just that you have lightweight, you have medium weight, and you have heavyweight, and this is just how thick the material is, how heavy, and it is used for different applications. So the lightweight one is used for scarves mostly, or bags, bow ties, capes.
Lighter accessories.
Yeah, I mean, they also can be used for skirts, but it's not it doesn't fall the nicest, I guess, because it doesn't have that weight. The more pleats, the more swirly, so more awesome. Exactly, Shark Dog. It's the weight of the fabric, which is still used in metric systems. Also, ounces is mentioned specifically for weight of fabrics, even in metric systems. I didn't know that. It's kind of weird. Right, so with medium weight, you can still, like, of course, make the kilts also cushions, covers for sofas and chairs. Wow. I would have expected the heavy weight to be more used for that, because I would think that sitting on those things all the time kind of wears them down. Also coats and jackets. And yeah, heavyweight are considered the best weight for traditional 8-yard kilts. The swirliest, I guess. Can I ask a silly question of the tartan/pattern, or is that later on? Well, ask the question and we will figure out when to answer it, I guess, depending on what it is.
Yeah, I think we pretty much cover it, but yeah, like Anko says, ask it in chat and then I can put a pin in it and
I'm gonna still hide.
Comes up. Yeah.
Also, I'm gonna hide ourselves just for a bit because I want to actually show the text here. This image is very good at showing how the cloth is pleated or folded around. So you have 4 different ways to do it, which is pretty interesting. Pleating is basically like you have box pleating and knife pleating, right? Basically, although Kingussi, you're gonna have to tell me how to pronounce that.
Kingussi, yeah.
Kingussi.
Yep.
God damn it. Of course. Would you also categorize that one as a box or a knife?
I think it's a mixture of both.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Because a box pleating basically creates kind of a box structure. Like you see how this is folded on the sides, and if you lifted up this part, you would have a kind of a box, like a container underneath. While with knife pleating, you just have kind of like 1, 2, 3, a 1, 2, 3 fold. Box pleating is like 1, 2, 3 sideways, and then it like folds on top of itself, kind of.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm glad you explained that because
I mean,
I wasn't quite sure how well to explain it.
I mean, I also am actually like probably even better way to explain it is that with box pleating you have folding in one direction and then the next fold is in the other direction, while knife pleating is always folding in the same direction. Yeah, maybe that makes more sense. And then there's like these more special ones that are like military box pleating, very interesting because you kind of start with a knife pleating, but then for a little bit you go backwards, like in box pleating, and then you fold again underneath.
Yeah,
so yeah,
box pleating is quite a wild one.
Yeah, that seems quite complicated. And then the Kingussi style pleating foxy. You have it's basically a knife pattern, but like I guess you have 3. I don't know if it has to be 3 or however many knife pleating one side, then you have like something that bridges that goes both ways, and then you change direction of folding. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And then you can also see how to pleat in terms of like alignment of the lines that the tartan has. Maybe you want to explain this.
Yeah, so it's basically what you're wanting to show up. So there's two different ones that you can see. There's stripe, which is basically in the whole tartan, there will be in most of them stripes in different colors. You can see in the bottom image. There's a red stripe, white stripe, black stripe. And what you can do is you can choose one of those and have it continually going on every single one of the pleats. So that's what shows at the back. And then you
Yeah.
have pleating to set, which we'll get into a second what a set is. But the set is basically just the pattern being replicated, but through the pleats.
And I think you were saying that you had your kilt done in a set pleating because you preferred that aesthetically.
Yeah, I did. This is actually my one here. This is, as it says, Old Alliance Kiltmakers. This is one of their images. This is actually my one on screen.
Oh, so this were pictures of when they were trying the different pleating styles, and this was like for you to pick which one you want to go with.
Which one I preferred, yeah. And I'm sorry to say, Chef, that I did not choose Kangusi. I went with traditional knife, which is the most common one.
Oh, that's so disappointing. Oh my god.
I know, I'm sorry. I'll leave.
Yeah, no, it's fine. There's a question from junk mail. Is the double pleat just in the center of the kilt, or is it part of the repeating pattern for Kingusi?
I think that's at the very back. So the very middle of the back will be that flat bit, and then the pleating on either side will continue along to the sides where it ends, and then the front will be the flat apron.
So it's basically like having two knife pleating things that are opposite in direction, and then they're just connected in the middle of the back.
Precisely.
Set looks very much nicer. Stripe looks a bit odd. Yeah, it does look a bit harsh on the eye, I would say, especially with the red. So
it depends on what tartan you're using. I felt that. I had the three different options, white. There was also an option to do basically red, white, black, red, white, black. So I had 5 options to go through, but I liked set. Some ones look better to set. Some ones will maybe have less colours in them, so it doesn't look too bad.
Oh,
if you've
yeah.
got them in stripes.
So are you saying that you could have done stripe, but with alternating colors?
I could have, yeah.
That's interesting how that folding would have been done, but I guess you have to just make different widths of these folds in that case. This is in reference to earlier found an article showing Irish kilts. Let me just take a quick look at that if you guys want, but
it looks pretty short, this one. Yeah, I'm looking at it just now. It's good.
I'm not seeing the direct comparison. Saffron kilts were first worn by the Irish military and the British Army during the 20th century, and it's the most widely worn kilt in Ireland today. Similarly, the I can't read that.
Filet more?
Filet more?
Yep.
That was the one for Great Kilt, right?
Yes.
Was also worn by Scottish troops on the battlefield. Okay. But this looks quite different. They do not have striped patterns.
Some of the Irish ones will. Saffron is very much a very Irish colour.
I did not know.
So they went that and blue. A lot of people would think green because obviously everyone associates it with St. Patrick, but St. Patrick technically was more of a blue colour thing. So they would wear blue or they'd wear a saffron one. There's a few tartans that exist as well, but again, tartan is more considered a sort of Scottish thing these days. So the Irish went for something a bit more Irish looking, which saffron and blue.
Yeah, I see. That makes me realize I could call Chef and Ciro's username colors saffron instead of mustard. Crest of Ireland is blue with a harp, is it?
Yeah, exactly. What Sharpbog says.
So it's yeah, I guess it's kind of weird, the whole association of Ireland with green. Okay, but we can talk about the set, which was coming up. So this is what the set is. It's let me full screen this as well. So the set is basically the like loopable pattern that you get in a tartan. So the part that is basically defining the pattern of it. So this will be repeated throughout in both directions. Carry tartan. I think we have a picture of that one as well, right? The care
I don't
one?
think we do. I think Kerry is. I've got
Oh,
one of Care. Kerry is one of the Irish counties. I think.
oh, okay, those are different. All right.
Yeah, the Irish ones aren't really done on family names because they didn't have the same sort of clan system as we do. Oh, it is a county. Thank you, Shark Dog. Yeah, so they did theirs after counties instead, the 32 counties of Ireland and Northern Ireland as well.
Gotcha. All right, this is another image from all the Alliance Kilt makers from your the construction of your kilt. Also, really interesting how because I hadn't seen before what is like on the back side of the kilt. You have this kind of I don't know what you would call this piece of cloth that kind of gives it structure, and you also basically sew the pleats. The pleats that are up here around the waist are shut and sewn to this piece of fabric.
Yeah, and I think you just mentioned something there that I don't think we mentioned at the beginning. So the kilt isn't like most of our menswear. So the kilt, you don't wear it at your what men would usually consider their waist, which is just the middle of their hip. You wear it above the hip, so it's resting on your hip bone. So it's more like just above your belly button is where you wear your kilt. So it's more like very high waisted jeans.
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. There should be more clothes like that. You do have,
I agree.
I think there are also pants, trousers that are made out of this kind of wool as well, though, and I think those also go quite high waisted, if I'm not mistaken.
They do, yeah. You're thinking of trews.
Trews, yes, there you go. Yeah, we're gonna talk about those in a bit. Where
Yeah, this is
is
like the internal construction of how the kilt works. This bit here with all the uh, sewing up and everything, that will, when it's finished, that will get covered over with a different material of your choice. So I went for just a standard blue fabric that goes along the top there, so that you don't see that or you don't accidentally yank stuff out. So you cover it over with a different material.
Ah, you mean this beige colored thing
Yeah,
gets covered again. What is the image on the right though? Why are these pleats getting like chopped up in here? Because the material seems to kind of have been cut shorter. I guess that is done so you don't end up with this thick bit at the waist, or
yeah, pretty much. And it's also it's I'm not entirely 100% certain of how this part of the kilt making works, but it is something to do with getting the pleats neatly folded and then going on to sewing them up.
mm-hmm. Yeah. Interesting, because I'm also wondering kind of what happens with these folds, because there is a risk of them getting frayed. So I would wonder if they also kind of do some kind of sewing around the edge. Yeah, probably allowing it to lay better and not be as bulky around the waist. Yeah, Bard. Yeah, I mean, cool. I would guess we would have to ask the kilt makers to give an interview to know more details about how exactly they basically prevent this from fraying. Yeah, it's the underside. That's right, Bard. Oh, there's more kilt construction stuff here. Also, is this last one again yours?
So that one is again mine, yeah.
It's so neatly done. Well, here you have, I guess, sewing the. Wait, do you
Yeah,
have?
so the one on the left is them measuring out the different pleats, so using chalk to mark out stuff. And then the middle one is them putting them all together to make sure that they're in the right place.
Mm-hmm. So I'm guessing that this is just kind of drafting the placement, because I'm assuming they might be doing what, I mean, my grandparents were like tailors back in the day, and this kind of reminds me that they would sew things in place with like a temporary thread to kind of just fasten it, but then you would go over and maybe use the sewing machine or something else, where like finer sewing to actually like secure it. This wouldn't be the
Yeah.
final thread, perhaps. I mean, I'm just assuming, but maybe this is what's happening here in the middle picture.
Something similar to that, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's the same with the finished kilt as well. You can very faintly see at the bottom of the kilt, the pleats aren't really swinging yet because they've got thread tied all around the bottom of them. And what they did when I came in to get my final fitting done is they would pull the thread and then it would release them all at once.
Oh, yeah, that's kind of
It's
like
a very fun thing to see.
yeah. That would yank all of them to one side and then like do kind of like a hair thing, like a whoop.
Oh, like you've had it tied up all day and then you take it out and then just
Yeah, and then you do
goes
the
everywhere.
glamour hair. Yeah, I
Yeah,
see.
yeah.
Very cool. Swoosh. Yeah, and now we're looking also at different types of materials, which I find very interesting because I didn't know before the difference between like pure wool and tweed. So you have so kilts can be made just from pure new wool. Or there is a kind of very tightly spun wool that often has like in the string you have several colors of wool that are spun together, which kind of gives it this I don't know what you would call that. There's this
Kind of
texture to
grainy.
it. Yeah, it's grainy,
It looks
exactly.
kind of grainy.
And I think the way that the cloth is also like or like the yarn, how it's shit, I'm missing the words. Like you weave it, right? The weave is also kind of done in the diagonal pattern. It used to use pea in the softening process of what? Of tweed? Are you sure about that? Right, but you can see how grainy it looks. But I think tweed is also much more like durable, much more like it can take a beating.
Yeah, tweed is mostly made up in the islands, so they're used to getting quite a bit of a beating on them. Yeah.
When
There's
vintage
actually a
tweed,
video. Oh,
sorry,
vintage tweed gets wet, kind of smells like pee. Does it?
I don't know. I don't really know if that's right, but that does sound funny.
I'm willing to believe it.
Sure.
There's a video of basically how they make the tartan and stuff.
Oh, right. Should we watch that one?
Yeah. Do you want me to link it in chat? Or have you got it there?
I've got it. If you mean how is tartan made, the one in this list, then I can just pull it up. Okay, let me get this over here. Well, that's a big amount of wool. Oh no, y'all naked! Property of British wool, it says, right.
And this video was by Lochcarron of Scotland, which is one of the 5 or 6 big mills, I think, in the UK that does tartan stuff. It's where I got my tartan from, because they're the only one that does it.
Lochcarron, right. Also, gotta say, just how vibrant wool is, or like the colors that they use. I mean, we're gonna look at some images later, but like there's like this very magenta color, magenta and like turquoise pattern that kind of surprised me, just how colorful it was.
I think I know exactly which one it is, and yeah.
something like Lord Buchanan, or like, what was his name?
Buchanan. That's the one.
Buchanan, yeah. He's swagging in that magenta stuff. Oh, and they're washing it.
I'm guessing this is what Shark Dog and Chef are talking about. That chemical stuff.
Yeah, but that's not like... I mean, I don't know if it has any sulfur stuff. Also, this looks like this is not tweed what they're making here.
I like this end bit where they've gone through like the painful way of all the different little steps of how to make the tartan, but then at the very end they're just like, yeah, you just sew up one bit and then you've got a kilt.
Yeah, easy.
Simple.
Yeah. Pure new British wool, that's right. Yours is also made out of pure new wool. It's not tweed, what you got. That's right.
It is, yeah. Mine is pure new wool.
There are more videos here that I guess we could have looked at before we continue, because they are about how to wear a kilt, how to wear the great kilt, and how to wear an earset, if I'm saying that right, which is the women's like cloak thing. I mean, it's still like a full wrap, but I would kind of like to look at those. They're also not very long.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we should throw them on just now.
All right, let me open up. This is how to wear a kilt. Just to recap everything we said so far.
Now, this is slightly
Kinloch
product
Anderson
and heavy, so
will
this
show
is
you
from
how to
Kinloch
put on
Anderson,
your
which is another one of the mills. This is the one that the royal family goes to.
Oh, wow. So they're fancy.
Yeah.
Daywear. First, put on your hose,
So this is going to show
garter
you how to do
flashes,
the
and
whole
shoes. Pull on the hose,
basic outfit.
attach the garter flashes.
By the way, you're gonna see this guy in
The
underwear.
flashes will be made from the same tartan as your kilt, or to match. They should sit a hand's width below the bottom of your kneecap, and the fabric shows on the outside of the leg. Turn down the hose until it stops at the garter flash. Next, your ghillie brogues. To tie the laces, tighten them across the foot, then bring the two laces together.
This one goes a bit far because we didn't talk about accessories yet, but we'll
firmly
repeat
but
that.
slowly. Then pass the laces around the back of the ankle and cross over once. Then pass them back round to the front.
You should wear
Tie
underwear
in a
under
bow
kilt.
or a double bow and allow the remaining lace and
I
tassel
think it's
to
kind
dangle.
of deviant behaviour if you're
The
not.
laces can be tied either at the front or the outer side. It's not advised
No offence
to
to
tie
any
the
of my
laces
friends
too
that
high
I
at the
know
calf, as they'll fall
perhaps
down.
maybe haven't worn it in the past.
Now
but,
you are
know.
ready to put on your kilt.
I don't know. I find that very weird if you don't.
If so, remove
Yeah,
this
it'd be
snap.
like going to a club and not wearing stuff under a skirt.
The kilt
like,
should be wrapped around the waist.
yeah.
You wouldn't
ensuring
expect
your
people to
pleats
be
are at
doing
the
that.
back. Pass the under apron across the body and feed the strap through the slit on your left side. Secure the strap in the buckle so that it feels firm but
Yeah, on the
comfortable.
kilt you've got these buckles
Make sure the top of the kilt
on
is
either
sitting
side,
just
so you
below
do
the
up one
ribcage.
end, fasten it, and then
Next, pass
do
the
up
top
the other
apron
end,
across
which
the right
usually will
side of the
have
body and again
two
secure
buckles
the
on it
buckle.
to keep it in place.
It may be easier to turn the kilt so that the
He's
fastening
pulling
is
it up
further
now,
round
so you
toward
can
your
make
front.
sure it's just at the belly button.
But then you would still wear another belt on top if...
There
So
is
you can
always a
do,
center
yeah.
point.
That's more of a
Front
fashion
apron of every
accessory
kilt.
than it is to help it up, because
The kilt pin should be
if
pinned
you've
onto
gotten
the
a
front
good
of the
kilt,
apron,
like
at
you've
the bottom
properly
right-hand
tailored
corner,
one, then
about
it's designed to rest on your hip bone. Like, it physically cannot be pulled down.
Yeah.
2 inches in from the fringed edge. The kilt pin should only ever be attached to the top apron of the kilt,
Oh, it has a
be pinned
fringed
vertically
edge.
with the sharp
Interesting.
pin facing downwards.
Yeah, and you can choose if you want to have
If you're
like a
right-handed,
different
place
colour
your
at the
ski
edge
and
or
do
not,
into
or
the
if you
right
just want to
hose.
keep it
If
fringed.
you're
I
left-handed,
just kept
it
mine
goes into the
fringed.
left hose. Only 1 inch of the top of the ski and do should be showing. To put on your sporran, swivel the back of the kilt round to the front. Feed the leather strap through the belt loops and fasten the buckle. Swivel the kilt and sporran back round to the front, centering the sporran at the front of the kilt apron about 1/3 from the top of the kilt.
Oh, and I guess we forgot to also mention that this part in the front of the kilt, which is not pleated, is called an apron. This is also
Yes,
something I
yeah.
was confused about at first when you were mentioning apron, and I was like, what, do you wear an additional piece of clothing that is like an apron on top of the kilt, but no, that's not what's
Yeah,
happening
that was
there.
my bad. I kept writing the word apron, as if that makes any sense whatsoever.
I mean, and it's natural to you, so of course you would forget that other people don't really know what that means. I'll continue playing this.
The coatee and vest is Kinloch Anderson's most popular evening jacket and waistcoat. Do up all 3 buttons of the waistcoat. The jacket lies open at the front.
Jacket brought to you by Kinloch Anderson, your Kinloch Anderson
You are
sporran,
now
your
fully
Kinloch
dressed
Anderson
in
kilt
your
boots.
formal Kinloch Anderson kilt outfit.
Kinloch Anderson. This stream is sponsored. No, it's
Using
not.
Epaulets on your jacket. This is a Prince
We've had
Charles
3
jacket.
different sponsorships so
You
far.
may need some help.
Sure.
The gathered corner is fed through the epaulets on the left
All
shoulder.
competitors.
Pull it down to the upper chest.
Yeah, we support all of them.
You should anchor the plaid with a
It is a
plaid
very
brooch
small
through
industry. Like
gathered
the
corner.
tartan industry is very small. Like the production of it, the tartan, and also the kilt and kilt making.
The plaid,
But also just
perfect
people who have the
accessory,
skills
completes your formal Kinloch
to make
Anderson
these
kilt
things.
outfit.
It's a very, because obviously it's only one
For your day
small
wear, you're going
country
to put on a 5-button
in
charcoal
off
waistcoat.
the Atlantic coast.
Leave the last button undone.
Wow, you have to leave the last button undone. That's so specific.
We advise
That's a
wearing
very
tie,
sort of
brogues,
fancy thing.
and
I do
bows
do
to
it.
match the
I
jacket
will
colour.
admit, I do it.
The
But
sporran is
yeah,
also
it's
less
kind of
formal in
a
appearance than
fancy
the formal wear.
sort of look thing for suits.
You are now fully dressed in your Kinloch Anderson day kilt outfit. If you'd like to wear a belt and buckle, take off your waistcoat and thread the belt through the belt loops on top of the sporran chain strap.
A thick
Fasten it
belt.
firmly at the front and underneath the
And a big buckle. Holy crap.
The sporran
They're
sits
very
2
thick
fingers
belts.
width
I've
below the
actually
belt.
got my buckle, again, not sponsored, but I did get my buckle
You are
from
now
Kinloch
fully
Anderson.
dressed in
I've
your
also
Wow.
Kinloch Anderson day kilt
I
outfit.
got a thistle one. I think I put it in Discords the other day.
Was that your belt? I didn't realize. Wait, let me.
They're on Twitch. Chef, no they're not. Come on. You're joking.
Really? They have a Twitch? That's amazing. Wait, you put this thistle piece here, but is that the buckle of your belt?
That's my buckle, yeah.
Oh, well, I didn't realize what it was because it wasn't connected to anything. I was actually wondering what this piece was about. Oh my god, he gave a shout out to Kinloch Anderson. Oh my It doesn't go anywhere? Wait, are you sure?
They just did it so no one else can have it.
Oh, yeah, they're just sitting on the link. Oh well, I guess we have to encourage them to get on that streaming train. Yeah, also there were some comments that we didn't read out yet. Do we need to read them out? What did Chef say? Over time, the traditional method of hand walking the tweed, which was carried out to soften the cloth and where urine was sometimes used, became less sustainable and came to an end. Okay. Well, fine. That's good to know that it did come to an end. And Shark Dog said, I think the comment I read somewhere was that in Westminster, in the Houses of Parliament, you could smell when it was foggy because the old gentry usually wore proper tweed, so the more the Houses of Parliament smelled of pee, the higher the humidity. I think it was from a letter from the 40s or 50s. Oh, well, I guess you can tell the weather in different ways, one of which is by smelling the House of Parliament, sure.
That's one way of doing it.
Yeah, usage of pee just sort of dried up. Yeah, Bard.
Nice.
Okay, well, if you guys want to provide your services to reinstate the use of pee, you can probably do that. Go ahead, Shalama. Right, where were we on our list? There is the Great Kilt, how to wear one of those. So
Yeah,
that's
a very short one.
very short 1-minute video. Let's check that one out.
Today I'm going to give you a demonstration on how to wear the belted plaid, or philomore, which is Gaelic for the Great Kilt. So as you can
Philomore.
see, this is
One
just
day I'll
one
learn.
large piece of material. What we want to do is start with the apron section.
That is a
roughly
different
the width
language.
of your waist, and from there we're going to pull the plaid towards us.
Okay.
So I can use the tartan as a guide. Tuck this in to expose
There's
the
your
belt.
pleating.
Lie down. Want the kilt just above the knees. Put the belt on, and now I'm ready to stand up. It's a very versatile piece of clothing. If it's
That
raining,
is pretty easy.
back over my head. Keep it nice and dry. Or I can take the right hand side here over my left shoulder, and that exposes the pleat at the back.
I should say I've never worn a great kilt, and I don't think I ever probably will.
Why not? It looks so fun.
To get ready.
I don't know. I mean, it doesn't look like it takes too long. You just like the longest part would be to make the pleats, but once you do that, you're done. I don't know. It looks kind of fun. And then we got how to wear an earset.
Erisich.
Erised.
Erisich. So the D in Gaelic at the end of the word will become a ch sound.
Ersich. Am I saying it right this time?
I mean, they don't say it right in the video, so you're in good company.
Hi, I'm Jen.
Oh, great. Fucking hell. Spend 1 hour folding the thing. Well, yeah. You probably get used to folding it faster the more practice you got. Well, anyways.
And I'm Allie. And we're here to show you a couple of ways to wear an Arisade, which is
Oh no.
essentially the women's version
She really
of
did say it very wrong.
kilt. This one here is about 3 yards of material.
God. When I'm at home, I just walk around the house wearing a freaking blanket on me when it's cold. Who would have thought I could actually style it too? Now I'm learning so much.
Yeah, you have a whole new fashion routine now.
Yeah,
Work out.
true.
This is one of the most common ways to wear an Arisade. It's pretty simple, as you can see. A lot of the times people will wear it up over their shoulders like this, or let it hang in the back like an overskirt. Or, if it starts to rain, you can always bring it up, wear it as a hood. Or, if you're looking for a little bit more of a complicated way to wear it, you can always throw in a brooch.
I like how she just looks like a sack of potatoes and the in between.
Now I'm going to show you one more little unusual way to wear an Arisade.
It does look
For
very
this one,
warm though.
We're going to fold it in half
Yeah.
lengthwise.
Okay, what are they doing here? Okay, you fold it in half sideways. Alright. This just looks complicated because it looks like you need another person to assist you. Well, the other one you could just fold it yourself and then...
Yeah. Yeah, this one's a definite no from me.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it doesn't look that complicated, but it's kind of annoying to do
If you're
by
trying to do it
yourself,
yourself,
maybe. Yeah.
This method is a bit more unique. It's convenient because you can throw it off more easily when it gets warm, and
Also, it's not very
these here can serve
practical,
as an
it's just
apron.
more of a
Arisades are
kilt
so much
squire.
fun and
Yeah.
a great way to express your creativity in what you're wearing. If you want to give one a try, you can find some at usakilts.com. We've got hundreds of tartans to choose from.
Edge. Okay. Yeah, that was cute though. Right. Any more videos that are relevant right now? No, because the next one is about Scottish clans, and we will get to that topic in a second. Right, so we covered materials. Oh my god, that actually looks like they did stream at some point because they have
They do streams. They do live streams and stuff. I will
USA
say,
Kilts.
USA Kilts. If you're wanting to learn stuff about kilts and all that sort of stuff, they are actually very good. I know that sounds crazy coming from someone talking about an American talking about another culture, but they are actually very, very knowledgeable, and they are very good at what they do, and they do liaise with people from Scotland and the Scottish industry about stuff. So I would check out their YouTube channel and watch their videos. They do 10-ish minute videos on different topics about different aspects of the kilt and Highland wear in general. They are very good if you're wanting to binge stuff about kilts.
That's so weird though that they were on Twitch as well. Although their Twitch seems to mostly feature highlights of videos that I think are also on their YouTube, but I guess they also did something 2 years back. I don't know if they really stream anymore. But yeah. Let's see. You need a kilt squire. That's right, Chaotic, to dress up in some of these. That might be true. So we can look now at colors. Color patterns.
Yeah, this is when things get complicated.
Or color palettes. Specifically, right? That was the word I was looking for.
Yeah. Well, I suppose before we talk about palettes, we should talk about what is a tartan. Because I don't know if we've really properly explained what it is, especially for North Americans who might be watching it and are confused about why we're calling plaid tartan.
Right, and this is also a question that I had when we were preparing for the stream, so that is true. We should cover that. So, like, I guess this kind of checkered pattern, piece of cloth, like pattern, is not, I mean, it has different names depending on, well, I guess what language you use. In North America, it's called plaid, as you said. In Scottish Gaelic, it's called Brecken.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just Scottish is tartan then. These terms all refer to the same thing, or do they mean slightly different things?
Linguistically, they'll mean slightly different things, but they all essentially just mean the same thing. A pattern on a piece of wool.
I see. And the word tartan comes actually from French, you said, or it is believed to be.
Yeah. Which kind of makes sense because, again, Scotland had the old alliance with France. There was a lot of French connections with them, and that would have been happening around about the same time that tartan, at least from what we know from what records exist from the time, when tartan started becoming more popularized. So the French would have seen it and they would have called it by the words that they would recognize, which is tartane, which again just means a checkered cloth.
So if you have, let's say, because I think of a very popular, like very common, maybe modern type of checkered cloth is just if you have like two colors and you don't have stripes, you just have kind of like a chessboard type of pattern. Maybe it's like black and red. Would that still be considered tartan?
It can be, yeah. Chef is talking about the same thing in chat. Gingham fabric
Gingham
or Burberry.
fabric.
Oh, he's just said Burberry. But yeah, some people would call it tartan. It depends. If it looks like it's crisscrossing under each other, then yeah, I think if it's literally just black, white, but they don't look like they're crossing under or over each other, like there's not a subtle variation, then that would probably just be a check pattern rather than a tartan.
Oh, so to make it more of a tartan pattern, you would have these differences in color, because here, like with the modern one, let's say we wouldn't have these thin lines, but we would just have the thick color stuff. You would have like bright red, dark red, and then black where they overlap. Is that kind of what you mean? Would still kind of make it?
Yeah, that's
Chef, what the?
I was.
What did you just dump in chat, Chef? That's a huge. You tried to link an image.
It was Burberry.
Yeah, but that just dumped the data from an image. Jeez. Yeah, I see. But that's still that would just be a tartan, right? Because this one still has thinner stripes.
Oh yeah, that's what we would call a tartan. They might call it something different wherever else in the world, but in Scotland we would recognise that as tartan.
Okay, I see. Right. Well, I guess that just covers what a tartan is. So about the color palettes. you
now
have
the
a
confusing
lot.
bit, chat. Get your notebooks out.
Yeah, these are
I'm not
so
even
many.
joking. It was specifically the hunting one at the end. I really confused Anka by very, very badly explaining it to the point where we literally had to rework how I was going to explain it and how I was going to show it on stream because it was so bad, wasn't it?
I mean, I don't know if it was bad or if I'm just like easily confused because I'm still not entirely
was bad.
sure. I think I understood how these, like where these are encountered. Basically, they're like a counterpart to the ancient patterns where people, I think it was the ancient ones, right? A counterpart.
Let's go for the other ones first.
Yeah, maybe we keep the more complicated one for later. So what about the modern one?
So the modern one, basically these are to just put it out for everyone. When we're talking about like modern ancient weathered, none of these are actually like more, none of them are older, none of them are like more historically accurate than the others. They're just different pattern designs, they're different palettes because people at some point wanted a different variation of, say, a clan tartan. So they're all the same design. It's kind of like if you have a car that's in 3 different colors, it's the same car, it's just in different colors. That's how USA Kilts would explain it.
Really? So if you call a palette modern, it actually doesn't mean that this palette wasn't worn in like the 1700s or
Yeah, pretty much.
right.
Like the overall design and the colors used in it just look a different way than any of the other ones listed.
Well, I mean that is a bit confusing because you have modern and ancient, which does sound like you're referring to very like different time periods.
Yeah, from what I've read, the what historians think is that tartans as they used to look like when they were made from vegetable dyes and stuff, which is kind of what ancient is meant to kind of look like. It's more of a mix between modern and ancient is what they would have actually looked like. These are just modern interpretations where we're using chemical dyes to try and replicate stuff.
Right, but yeah, originally they were made from vegetable dyes or just whatever they could procure locally to make dyes out of.
Yeah. So the modern one is very bold colors. Ancient one is a bit lighter, again, meant to look a bit more like they are vegetable dyes or animal-based dyes. Weathered was... The story behind it is that one of the tartan mills called DC Dalgleish in the 1950s, they apparently found a piece of tartan cloth somewhere in a marshy bog, and it had been there for God knows how many years, and over time the colours had sort of dissipated from the exposure from the sun, and so they started calling it weathered or reproduction. A lot of people think that it actually is just a marketing thing because they never actually released the original tartan and it's not in a museum anywhere. So the thinking is that it's just a marketing thing.
They just were maybe thinking this is a cool, more muted palette that people might like.
Yeah, pretty much. Which either way, it looks cool, so it doesn't really matter how it was made.
Yeah, I mean, I like those colors.
Yeah. And then the muted pattern is meant to be sort of a bit more like you've put a dark filter over everything. That was created by the House of Edgar Mill in the 1990s, so relatively quite close to now.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Dress.
So you wouldn't have had such muted colors historically, which I find interesting. That these are more like creations of a more recent time. I mean, I guess some of the hunting ones could be considered a bit more muted, but I just find it interesting.
Yeah. Bard is picking favourites in chat already.
Do love the Nova Scotia tartan. Wait, are you joking or do they actually have? I guess they would have some tartan pattern themselves.
I think yeah, Nova Scotia does have one. Yeah.
Well, if you want to show us what it is.
Yeah, if you've got something in chat, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Dress tartan, this is when it starts getting slightly complicated. So dress is basically, imagine the modern palette, but instead of some of the red, you replace it with white. The basic idea of dress is that you replace one of the colours with white, but dress tartans can come in any of the different colour palettes. So you could have dress modern or dress ancient or dress weathered or muted. So in any of these 4 here, just replace one of the colours with white and it would become a dress muted or a dress modern.
Okay, it's just a variation of the other ones.
Yeah.
Let's see what
And
Bart
then the hunting
shared.
one. Oh yeah, let's look at the Nova Scotian.
Oh, that's very muted. I didn't expect that. That's just kind of like blue, green, and some maybe a little bit of brown and white in there.
Yeah, I don't think I've looked at the Nova Scotia. I know it exists. I've never looked at it. Also, we have to talk about how this website is.
Oh yeah, this is the website that has like the register of all the tartan patterns. But yeah, it's a very ancient design.
Yeah, this is the official Scottish government website. This is part of a government department in Scotland. This website, but like Anka says, it looks like it's from like 2003 or something.
Wow, which one is this one? Black Tartan of Holland. Oh wow, I like the orange and the kind of a purple blue that you guys have there. That's pretty cool. This is
That's pretty
pleasing.
nice, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, then I'll let you explain once again what's with the hunting patterns.
Yeah, so if we go to the next slide, the hunting will be slightly easier to explain.
Okay.
So, the tartan that we're looking at the top is the Royal Stuart. It's in the modern colour palette, so that's the Clan Stuart tartan. The 3 underneath are the hunting variations of the Clan Stuart tartan. So they look slightly different to the original one, but they have basically the same colours, and they come in the different variations, modern, ancient, weathered. So it's a different looking tartan, but it's still a Stuart tartan.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense more or less, except that for the ancient and the weathered ones, the like some of the colors are very altered or like totally different because the weathered one still has this brown that doesn't feature in the original one, like in the original Stuart. So they preserved the red and the yellow.
Yeah. The idea is that the pattern and the colours as they would be sort of look the same, so they can all be considered the same sort of thing. It's very complicated, the hunting. But the basic idea is it's just a different variation of an existing, usually clan tartan.
And why were these made exactly?
People aren't exactly sure. From what I've read and from what I've checked from other people, the idea is that they're not actually for hunting. They're not meant to be for you're going out trying to get deer and stuff. It's not going to help you hunt. It's more that it was just something different for people to wear.
Yeah, because that's what I was gonna ask. Like, were they supposed to be more camouflagey? But no, no, that was not the idea at all. You're saying?
No, I think from what I can get from what other people have said and from what little I've read of it, because it's surprisingly quite difficult to read about. Yeah, as Bard says, fashion baby. It's just a fashion thing. People wanted something a bit different to wear when they were going out. Some clans also don't have a lot of different variations of their tartan, so they maybe just made up a hunting one, just to have something different to wear. It's more of a fashion thing than it is actually
Fair enough.
go hunting.
Oh, and here we have the Black Watch palette.
So these are just going to be examples of the different ones that you can see how the different palettes work.
Okay, but there's another thing that maybe wasn't clear to me when we were looking at palettes, like with the ancient and the dress and the weathered and the modern. They are all variations. They can be all variations of a specific pattern. So it's not because each pattern or each tartan pattern can have all of these variations. Or, well, maybe they've not all been made, but they could they could exist.
They could exist, yeah.
Yeah. So Black Watch basically has these variants. Also, why is it called Campbell as well, or?
So Campbell is the original clan tartan, and Black Watch was sort of adopted later from Campbell because for people who won't know, the Black Watch is basically the name given to a bunch of different regiments that were created in the 1700s to try and keep order in the Highlands, and it was made up from different clans who were loyal to the royal family. And one of those clan families was Campbell, and because the Campbells were the biggest clan, they would see a lot of clan members wearing the Campbell tartan, and eventually people in the Highlands started referring to this group as the Black Watch, or Amphric Du in Gaelic.
Yeah, I'm glad you pronounced that. But there were other clans involved. Fraser of Lovat, Grant, and Monroe. Okay, this is so. And this was formed in like 1725.
Yeah, King George King George the First basically wanted to make sure that these Highlanders who kind of didn't really play by the rules that he wanted to set out, he basically set up these different Highland companies of regiments to try and keep order in the Highlands, because obviously these are people who live in the Highlands. They understand the geography, they understand the terrain, they can speak the language, because some of them would be speaking Gaelic, whereas a lot of the Lowland and English clans would be speaking English, or they'd be speaking Scots perhaps. So there would be a language barrier, and also there probably wouldn't have been a lot of respect. But when you've got big name clans like Campbell and Grant and Monroe trying to keep order, the people would be more likely to step in line, even if maybe the clans weren't going to.
Yeah. You also say that the Royal Regiment wears a version of the Black Watch?
They do, yeah. So they wear a slightly different one that's based on a different clan tartan that looks similar to it. But to get rid of all of that, they've just named it Government 1A, which is the official one, which basically looks the same as the Campbell Black Watch that we're looking at now.
I think it's just slightly like brighter in tones, but otherwise,
I think so, yeah. I think that's right.
Gaelic and Scots aren't the same, no. Though I couldn't tell you that like I can't really detail on that myself, but I know that they are different languages and different cultures basically.
Yeah, Scots is Germanic, so it's like English, and Gaelic is Goidelic, which means it's more like Irish and Manx, if anyone knows about the Isle of Man, where they speak Manx Gaelic. So they're two different branches of language.
Yeah, and Angus streams features English, Scots, and Gaelic. not Welsh. Is Welsh related to Gaelic?
Nope, not at all. It's a completely different tree. That one would be Brythonic.
Oh wow, okay.
So Welsh would have been closer to the ancient Scottish language, which was Pictish, or it would be closer to Brittonic, which is what they speak in Brittany, which is the little bit off of France.
Right. Okay, we also have the care pattern. Do you know where do they well, not really, because I don't know if this clan or like where they were originating from.
I actually don't know. I will look that up.
It's kind of interesting that the ancient and the modern one are so close. They're basically just like, okay, this green bit is a bit more visible. Yeah. They're like cur.
Oh yeah, probably closer to cur than care, I think. That might be right, Sandbard. Care is apparently from an Old Norse word because they came over with the Normans when they invaded England.
Mm-hmm.
So it's closer to a French word. All right, well, Sandbard's the expert on how to pronounce that.
because Sandbard's cousin married a cur. Okay. Did they wear any any kilt stuff at the wedding?
Oh yeah, did they?
They did, in fact. Oh, interesting.
Very good, very good.
That's cool.
I take it this is Nova Scotia. Yeah.
Yeah, I see. I'm just kind of looking if we have. Oh yeah, here's the different clans. We don't. I mean, you mentioned it in here that there were some Irish and Welsh tartans that were designed, but they're not original. They're just kind of from the 1990s and 2000s that they were kind of introduced
Yeah.
later, so that Irish and Welsh could also have their tartans. And you
Yeah,
also
very
mentioned saffron in there. So is the saffron thing actually also quite new?
I think saffron is more of an ancient Irish Gaelic in general color. But
Mhm.
I think in the last few years with Irish nationalism growing and Irish republicanism, it became a bit more fashionable to want to show that you were different to Britishness. So wearing the kilt a bit more and having these different designs became a bit more popular. From what I understand, that could be not entirely correct, and it's a very sensitive topic. So I'm going to leave it there.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, because this was also the part where we had that joke that Block made that we could go back to, but I don't know how to, how to introduce it. I guess yeah, it's in Welsh. How they call a kilt in Welsh, or how do they spell it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you wanna
Do-
say this, or shall
No,
I?
I'm not gonna say it. I'm just gonna show it. It's right here. You guys in chat try to read that word. Does it look like anything familiar? Nah, who knows? Probably not.
Yeah.
They just don't have a K in Welsh, apparently, so they have to spell it like yeah, never seen one. Yeah, that was a joke. If Block is still around, I hope you enjoyed that one. Yeah, Sint, yes. Right. We also had like this slide is about swatches. So this is basically just a book of patterns that you can get, and I guess in a specific cloth weight that you get from a specific mill, like Lochcarron of Scotland. These guys again. Freaking hell, they're
Yeah.
everywhere.
They're the biggest mill, so they show up a lot. But yeah, it's basically it's a little book, and it's got all the different fabrics in it. So this one here is again provided from my friends, the Kiltmakers at Old Alliance. Yeah, this one is the medium weight tartans. So these are the medium ones, and yeah, you can just go through them. You can feel them to see whether you like the texture of them. If not, maybe you want to get one from a different mill, see what their one feels like instead, because you're going to be wearing this thing, and it is made of wool. So you want to make sure that it's one that you're quite comfortable wearing.
I actually, this kind of makes me think, or wonder rather, how scratchy is wool like this, because I sometimes get kind of allergic to wool. I've never figured out why exactly that sort of thing happens, but some kinds of wool just kind of make you, I don't know, sniffle and feel like you're getting a cold or something. But then again, you don't wear this stuff straight on the skin.
From my experience of wearing them, I've worn kilts a couple of times in my life now, and they're not bad to wear. I think because they are made from very pure wool. Usually, if you're getting a really good one, they're made from very pure wool. If you've got a kilt maker who knows what they're doing, then it's actually thinner than you would think. The material, it is like kind of wearing a shirt or wearing like a nice pair of trousers that aren't denim. You know, it's not too bad to wear. It's quite good.
So you've not experienced scratchiness or like weird
No.
allergy?
No, nothing like that. Not so far, anyway. I mean, another 10 years we'll find out.
Well, I hope it doesn't occur then either. I don't know if this is related to because the document and the presentation are a bit in different order, but we can talk about clan tartans now. Yeah. So, by the way, so kind of how old are clans in Scotland?
So it'll depend on sort of the migration of different people. So clans tend to be around about the 1200s that we start seeing like the big different clans emerging. Clans are basically just kinship groups and societies, which means that they have existed in one way or another since we started settling down, tens of thousands of years ago. But in terms of like Scottish clans, it's around about the 1200s that they started building up. And then by about the 1500s is when they would have started becoming solidified and people would recognize names and they would recognize territories.
Right. So clans, I mean, either way, clans kind of originated as family groups with the same like ancestry, basically.
Or just families and groups around them that pulled together to create clan societies. So not necessarily all related to each other, but they would be a group of people who followed a particular clan chief sort of thing, or communities like Discord servers.
Yeah, sure. We can say that we are a clan. That would be kind of weird. Yeah, we are a clan and we register the spider cat tartan and we wear it. Sure. Right. So here are some clan tartans. By the way, these were picked kind of by. They can be so the clan chief. The clans have a chief, and they are the ones who pick the pattern, officially represent the clan. So they had this they kind of had this fashion monopoly on them.
Yeah, I mean you could register and create a different tartan that looks like that, but the clan wouldn't really recognize it. The chief would just say like you can wear it if you want, but I'm not going to say it's mine.
Yeah. Also, I think I guess Lindsay is the one that has that like magenta and blue that I think I mentioned earlier. I'm not sure if it's the same clan though, but I guess
It's
the colors are
one, but it does look the same.
Yeah.
The mid top looks familiar. I wonder why.
Yeah. Well, that's because that's actually your pattern.
That's my ancestral one, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and you could have clan branches.
So
how does that work?
So these are for the larger ones. So again, using Stuart as an example, Clan Stuart, they would have their own territory, but there might be other territories that they have control over. So they would have people who were loyal to them, who would control those territories, and they would typically be named differently after the geographical location. So you've got Stuart of Appin, Stuart of Athol, Stuart of Bute. So they're all different territories that are outside of the big main territory, basically. Some of them would have different tartans, some of them might not. Some of them would branch off and create their own mini clans.
This actually reminds me of something that I read. I'm not sure if I read in your notes or I read in an article. This is it's not really that related, but basically, I think somebody had asked if in battle, people would wear a specific tartan pattern to distinguish who was their ally. And turns out the answer was no. Because they were saying in that article that actually what they would use to kind of show their allegiance were rather, what was it? I don't know if they were thistle pins or stuff like this, like the badges.
Plants.
Or wearing the actual plants, like the actual thistle and such.
So from what we know originally, later down the line, if enough people could afford to outfit their entire army with a tartan, then sure, they could do that. But we're talking about slightly to a large extent, self-sufficient communities up in what are sometimes very, very difficult terrain, where
True.
trade wasn't the easiest thing. So it was mostly just tartans would be made of what you can get locally, what a mill can do, what people in your family could make. So having your entire army identification based on a pattern wouldn't really be helpful. It could maybe work for a chief and his bodyguards and his staff. That would work, but for the rest of the army, it would have to be something different. So from what we know and what we've read, they would have different plants put into their hats, and that would be how you would distinguish people.
I mean, it totally makes sense that practically it wasn't feasible to have everybody have that same pattern in their wool that they were wearing. But I just wonder how effective it was to detect who was on your side by just a plant that they were wearing. Like I can imagine that so many people were just kind of like randomly butchering each other anyways without realizing who is who. Just doesn't sound very efficient to me.
Yeah, it probably wasn't very efficient, but I guess they they did what they could do with what they had, and a lot of the plants were quite different. Like some of them were very colorful, so it would be quite easy to distinguish them. And
Yeah,
also, they would be in different regiment styles anyway, so they wouldn't just be charging at each other.
I
head on
guess.
to the point where you couldn't recognize people.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess that would only happen if like the battle got very messy.
Yeah, at that point, you're killing your own people anyway.
Yeah, that's true. But Shark Dog says having to stop fighting to check the minutiae of patterns would be awkward. Yeah, but I was just wondering if that, because that could be the same for the plant that you're wearing, unless it's like a very visible.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, fighting like was difficult anyway, so I guess like there's only so much you could do to distinguish each other, especially if you couldn't afford like some uniform for everybody. Right, we have universal patterns on this next one actually, which is interesting. These are not connected to exclusively to clans. They represent geographical locations, or different people, different factions, or different, or just fashion, right? So Royal Steward, because this is what I found kind of confusing, was that you have Steward, Royal Steward, they look the same.
They are identical. They are the exact same. They're not identical, actually. They're the same thing. So when you're talking about the clan, you'll call it Clan Stewart, but it's also the Royal Stewart one. It symbolizes the House of Stewart, the royal family.
Right, but that's universal because it is not clan based. It basically is wearable by anybody. Why is
Yeah,
there
and
that
also-
distinction?
It's more of a historical distinction, and because Clan Stewart hasn't really been a proper clan in ages, because there's not been a chief of it in so long, and also the royal house of Stewart died out about 200 odd years ago.
I see. So it used to be a clan as well as a royal family.
Yeah, well, they were the same thing.
They were
clan and the royal family were one.
Yeah. And then it was basically just adopted as a universal pattern because the clan doesn't really exist to just say, okay, this is our thing.
A little bit of that, but mostly because in the sort of 70s, 80s, you had the punk movement happening in the UK. And obviously a big thing about punk is sticking it to the establishment, going against the rules. And there's no bigger establishment in the UK than the royal family. And the Queen's favourite tartan happened to be the Royal Stewart. So they would just wear it openly, and they would encourage others to wear it. And eventually it's just sort of become something that people wear.
Oh, so that's more what kind of made it mainstream.
Yeah. Ironically, the people that want to be individualistic and stick it to the man have created the tartan that is now almost exclusively used by the fashion industry.
Yeah, that is kind of how things turn out sometimes. Also, we have restricted tartans, which can only be worn by the royal family, or, well, it's in general, they are restricted to a specific group, but in particular, we have the Balmoral pattern, which only the royal family and the royal piper can wear. Just Mr. Paul Burns over there. I do
I
like how
surprisingly had to
the
go on,
pattern
go
looks,
on.
though.
It's quite a nice one. Yeah. I had to spend quite a while looking for the tartan. Weirdly, the Piper doesn't really wear it. He's a bit more of a fan of Royal Stuart.
Really? So he's
Yeah,
allowed
see
to
him
wear
wear
it,
that.
but not. He doesn't always. Kind of
Yeah.
a posh Burberry. Yeah, yeah.
It does. It really does. I hadn't really seen Burberry until today, but I can definitely see it. Yeah.
Right. So we can also get more into the history of like how far back tartan really goes. But first, I want to see what Bard linked. What did Bard link? Oh my god. Yeah, there you go. Somebody wearing the Royal Stuart pants.
Very cool.
Yeah, nice hairstyle. Okay, so kind of like the oldest piece of cloth that has been discovered that has a checkered pattern is the Falkirk. Was discovered at Falkirk. So this is
Nice.
wait, CE means no,
Common
then
era.
yeah, Common Era. So that's still like AD.
That's still the oldest one. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the oldest piece of actual cloth that has been discovered from 280 AD. And this is from it's at the National Museum of Scotland. You can see this little piece. I mean, it's really hard to tell that it's actually checkered, like in this picture. It's very faint. And his like okay, you can say this is like the earliest historical documentation of the pattern, and then you have one that's in a mosaic, Roman mosaic from Emperor Caracalla, who I guess he attacked the Scots, or actually Celt. The Caledonians were the ancestors of the Celts, if I understood correctly, or like at least one of the groups.
Yeah, the Caledonians were the largest Celtic group that was in what is now Scotland. The Romans, they said they conquered it, and then a few years later they lost it. But yeah, this was sort of their big triumph at the time, was Emperor Caracalla taking all of these Celtic, Scottish tribals and parading them back to all across the empire, including Wolobulus, which is in modern-day Morocco, which is where the statue is from.
Right, so it's again quite hard to spot that, but you can detect here the checkered pattern, and this is a person, if you can tell the outline, and this was one of the prisoners. Yeah, this basically registers the instance of them wearing checkered pants. And this one, the Glen Affric, is that a region? Or
Yeah,
what is the name?
Afric's a region.
Right. And this was dated 15 or to 1600 CE. So this is actual tartan, not just checkered cloth. And it's actually the oldest surviving specimen of tartan found in Scotland.
Yeah, and it's only this year that they've sort of discovered that. So they found it in the 1980s in Glen Affric, which is why it's named that. But this year, they did radiocarbon testing on it, which is how they found out that this is the oldest example that we have of real tangible tartan. And from what they can tell, even though it's quite faded now, from what they can tell, it used to be green, brown, and very probably also red and yellow would have made it up. They've got no idea which clan it could, or what district even it could have been, because there would have been multiple that had that pattern. Yeah,
yes, but very, very weathered, just to serve as an inspiration for, but no, because it has nothing to do with a weathered pattern, actually. Okay, and I guess this would already move into like jackets and other accessories that you wear together with the kilt. And oh my god, this is so complicated as well because there's so many types of jackets, and they have so many like accessories. I also want to touch on like these coins. I think you said they were inspired by coins, these studs that they wear on the jackets always.
Yeah, these buttons. So I can't remember precisely what it is, but it was somebody discovered an old button, and they knew that it came from a Highland jacket, and on the buttons it had Gaelic words on it, but the Gaelic words don't really spell out a coherent sentence. It's more just words that kind of fit together, but not really. And they liked the look of it, so they incorporated it into the regimental doublet, and has just sort of continued onto all these other jackets.
Oh, so they were not Gaelic coins; they were still actual buttons that were discovered. But this is not something that's very traditional then, having the buttons placed like this.
The placement of the buttons, probably not, but definitely having the buttons on them in one way or another is, if the story is completely true, which they think it probably is, then it's an authentic button.
I see. Also, you wrote regulation doublet or regimental doublet. Are those the same thing?
I just can't spell.
Oh, okay. So it was meant to be regimental in both cases. Just because I was looking at the cuffs, because they have a very specific type of cuff, but in this picture, you can't really tell. Like they are called gauntlet cuff, which apparently Bond was wearing. Like it's, yeah, like you can see that I don't actually see that there's this turned back cuff that it's supposed to have, like this bit here. And on this person, those cuffs don't seem to exist.
I think if you type in Argyle cuff, Argyll.
Argyle cuff. Oh, that's what he's wearing. But then is this an Argyle jacket? Because you also have, I think, one of those in the here.
So it's slightly confusing. So the name of the jacket comes from the actual cuff that he's wearing. So the cuff is called Argyle, which is why they call it that.
Interesting. But you can still have different cuffs on a regimental doublet.
Yeah, it's more of a...
What makes it regimental?
Style.
So I guess the difference between these two is where you have buttons and you have these flaps that are like sewn in a specific way.
The regimental one is older. It's sort of, it's a very military one. It's what, very posh military men would have worn when they were going out to dinners and stuff, or when they were on the command centers of the battlefield or whatever.
I see.
Sort of probably the same for Montrose and some of the others as well. Prince Charlie is very much a dinner jacket. Like, it's not really meant to be regimental. It's just a posh outfit.
Mm-hmm. The Montrose looks very warm, which I favor.
It does look very felty, doesn't it?
Yeah. Or like I can't tell if it's felt that it's made out of or some kind of like what's the word? The Montrose one looks nice. Yeah, but what is the word? It's not velour, or is it velour? Or it's like I'm not sure. Possibly. Okay, and you have so many other variations with these flaps again.
Which honestly, these two probably not ones that you would see very often.
These also look very similar to me.
Very, very posh ones.
The Kenmore and the Sheriff Moore doublet, they look very similar. Except, like, because if you tie them up, or button them up, they kind of look like... Or wait, these don't have buttonholes, actually.
Yeah, I think the only difference is that one is meant to have an open jacket and the other one is a closed jacket.
Yeah.
One's got a vest underneath it.
Mm-hmm. True. Yeah, velvet bar. That's what I meant. Not velour. It looks very velvety, the Montrose one. Right. And we also got tweed jackets, which are the filthy casual version.
Yep, my filthy casual jacket. Yep.
Yeah. The type you got yourself. Yeah, but it's very wearable. You don't have to go to a freaking military dinner to wear this one.
Yeah, you can just wear it going to the park. Just go for a walk.
I would wear one of these.
And I think more people are wearing them for weddings as well. I think tweed is becoming a lot more popular.
All right, we got more accessories coming up. So we already saw this fly plaid thing in the video at the start, where you have this basically scarf or like piece of cloth that you just attach to your shoulder. Like you put it through this loop on your shoulder, and then you also attach it with a brooch. I can't English. And the sash is something that I guess it's mostly for the women's outfit. I also saw that there's like several ways that you can tie a sash.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of different ways that you can do it. I don't think it really matters which way you do it, just as long as you're wearing it.
Yeah, and I also had like a question about because I don't think I asked this when we were talking about women's outfits. Is there a specific type of shirt that they're supposed to have underneath? Well, actually, both men's and women's. Or does it quite not matter?
For men, if you're doing something a bit fancier, then you're either wearing a dress shirt with like the white collars done up so that you can put a bow tie on. Or you'll just wear a normal white shirt that you just pick up at a store that you can wear with it. And with women's wear, like with most fashion, it just it's down to personal preference. I mean, all of it is personal preference, but if you're talking like traditional, then maybe a woman would wear like a blouse, or they might wear a smaller kind of jacket to put on, like a bolero jacket, I think.
Is that one like very short, but with long sleeves?
Like a normal jacket, but very, very thin with, that one.
All right.
You could just wear something like that. It's like most fashion, women's is a lot more varied in compared to what men traditionally would be wearing.
Right. You can also have tonak. Tonak? Please demonstrate. You always have to demonstrate the words. And this is it's just kind of like a cape tied in front. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, just anything that you wear over your shoulder rather than like looping it through, just throwing something over your shoulder and tying it up.
Right, neckwear. And this what I found interesting is the cravat, because it's like this fluffy scarf that you tie around, also with a knot, but it's just more like fluffier. But pretty self-explanatory though. They tend to be also made in the same pattern as the kilt, except for the cravat. His cravat is not matching entirely, but
no, you wouldn't get a cravat in tartan. I think the wool would be very unhappy if you tried to make it as scrunchy.
Oh, that's the reasoning. Okay, I see. But I mean, you're still tying like a necktie in a, it's not as scrunchy, but you're still doing it up.
Yeah,
I guess it doesn't ruin the wool as much. Which one do you not have?
I haven't got a cravat. I did wear a cravat years ago with one, but I've not bought one yet. I've not really got a reason to wear one yet. I'd rather wait and buy one when I need it rather than just buying it all at once.
What kind of reason would you need to wear one then?
I guess if I was going to something like a wedding or something, I would probably wear a cravat, or like a dinner or something. If I had to like properly dress up. If not, then I'd just wear my ties. But I like, for example, when a high school prom, I wore a cravat to that with my outfit.
Need to propose
to me, chef.
So you can wear a cravat. I just didn't realize how official or fancy the cravat is supposed to be, because I thought that the fanciest would actually be the necktie somehow. It seems like the most proper, official whatnot.
I think the necktie is it's just more of a casual thing, really. Like I've worn the necktie to like low key events and stuff,
Okay.
rather than something a bit more like a wedding. Like for
Oh.
that, I'd wear something more like a bow tie or a cravat. Oh, Bard's giving me a ring. Okay.
You're engaged. There you go. Now, actually, if I was going to rank them blindly, I would have said in order of fanciness, it would be cravat, then necktie, then bow tie, actually. But apparently, cravat is at the top.
I guess, yeah, if it's a tartan bow tie, maybe that goes at the bottom. But I think obviously if it's a black bow tie, then that goes straight up to the top.
Really? So actually,
Yeah,
they
because
would be ranked. So the ranking would be actually necktie, tartan bow tie, cravat, black bow tie. Am I getting this right? Or is
Yeah.
black bow tie under cravat?
No, black bow tie would be at the very top because a black bow tie is what you would wear with one of those doublet things. That would be that would be like a black tie dinner event, or even a white bow tie. That'd be even higher. That'd be
Oh,
like a
wow.
really, really fancy dinner.
Wow.
And then
I see.
cravat is personally what I would wear. Other people might wear a necktie instead. I'd personally go for cravat.
Okay. None of these guys are wearing white bow ties here. But yeah, interesting. And we've got here a shirt that I don't understand in which, like, this seems very casual, the ghillie shirt.
It's very casual. It's you would wear it to go dancing or something.
Do people go to the club dressed like this in Scotland?
I mean, probably not in the club. No, I can't see people going down Edinburgh clubbing in this.
Yeah, probably not.
No. Something a bit more Scottishy, Celtic-y sort of thing.
So if you go to like a Burns night or something, or like a
yeah, I don't know if you'd wear it to the Burns night. You might take it with you to get changed into when the dancing starts, maybe, because it's a bit freer to have on. You know, you're not going to be sweating as much. I think to a Burns supper, I'd wear a nicer shirt and then I'd take a ghillie with me. And
Okay.
then just quickly throw it on.
Lenny cravat. Wow.
Lenny cravat.
Wow. Mushy. Golf clap. Exactly. For that pun. Okay. And now we got the trues again, like the pants I was talking about before. That these are made out of the same kind of wool, but they are high-waisted pants. And I want some of them. I seriously want. Like, I've always wanted to have pants like that, but I never found some that fit well, and also a pattern that I felt like it wasn't too flashy. So I do not own some that I'm happy with. They are form-fitted, high-waisted wool trousers. Or they can be worn underneath the kilt.
Yeah, that's more of a historical thing.
Is it?
Highlanders, because obviously it's very, very cold up there. So if it gets really, really cold,
Yeah, I was wondering.
If you want to take your blanket with you, but you were still cold, you'd put trousers on.
Right, but these days you wouldn't see people going around wearing both at the same time.
No, I'd hope not. And well, I mean, you know, people at like the big fashion event, the big gala dinner that they have in New York, there's a lot of people that do stuff like wearing denim and then a kilt on top, and it does not look great.
Oh my god.
I think Snoop Dogg's done that a couple times.
I think there was some other rapper who did that, maybe even at this year's Met Gala. I don't know.
The Met Gala, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't know who it was, but I do remember somebody having very baggy jeans and a kilt over.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was very...
Yeah.
Yeah, very informal for sure. But can we address the whole whether or not to wear underwear under the kilt? And because okay, maybe this comes up. Maybe we have to address this one a bit later. Where is the section for it, or did we just skip over it? Because
it's in like the
misconceptions
busting or whatever. Yeah.
Do we wait till then, or do we bust that myth now? I mean, we kind of already busted the myth, but the myth that I wanted to address was whether historically you would not have anything under the kilt, because I still find that quite shocking. And especially what you said about generals checking.
I think we've got to address it now. I think
Yeah, now that it
too
popped
much.
up, it has to be. We can't just let people
Yeah.
wait.
It's too teasing if we don't do it now.
Yeah, who would do such a thing? Yes, wear pants if your balls are cold. Right. But so as the kilt was part of the military uniform from like the 18th century up to like the 1900s, they didn't actually wear underwear as part of the uniform. But the whole, like this section, it is said that officers would use a mirror during inspections to make sure none of the soldiers were wearing anything underneath their kilts. This is where the expression going regimental came about. I find that to be really hard to believe, that you would inspect your soldiers like that. I don't know. Is this confirmed at all, like with sources, or is it just kind of like some rumor that
It is very difficult to believe, isn't it?
yeah, but is it documented?
I'm looking it up again because I've written it in a way that like maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but I'm fairly certain that there is documentation of it.
That is, if this is actually documented, as such a weird thing. This is so fucking shocking to me.
Yeah, it is. So yeah, the Western Front in the First World War. Yeah, the senior officer would have to inspect them, and then they'd be sent back to do it.
Why? Why would it matter? What? It's so bizarre. Tactical disadvantage of underwear. Exactly. More vulnerable while taking a piss.
I mean, in their defense, going to the toilet with a kilt, I can imagine, is not the most fun thing to do, because you are talking about a somewhat bulky bit of fabric that is not easy to take on and off very, very easily, especially when you're in like a small cubicle or something. Or even in the trenches where it's quite compact. I can imagine that having to mess about with underwear maybe isn't fun.
Well, I'm just wondering, because if you had pants, you would still like pull those off. So you could do the same with the underwear underneath the kilt. What's the problem?
I need to find a book on it. I mean, it's documented. It happened. It is documented, and it did happen. I don't know what happened. A lot of weird stuff happens in like old military stuff.
I mean,
some of the the outfits. Some of them used to wear like giant hat things that like go up like 20 inches.
True.
Or whatever. Like, what's the tactical advantage of stuff like that?
Yeah, I kind of feel like that's just more in the way than anything, or it's more of a show-off thing. But I mean, this whole thing with like inspecting your soldiers could have also been some weird form of like humiliation that the general was doing, because they were just like fucking psychos.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah.
But yes, that's the myth bust. But do wear underwear under your kilt, especially if you're hiring one. If you're renting a kilt.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Like you will be told you have to. But yeah, just like wear stuff underneath, because also like it's a wool kilt. It's difficult to clean. So why would you make it more difficult for yourself by not wearing underwear?
Yeah, don't put your naked bum on the wool. That's just, it doesn't make any sense. Okay, myth.
I think we've addressed that.
Addressed.
I think we can move on.
Yeah, we won't have to do it later, so we got that off our list. We have Gilly Brogues. That's
yep.
I actually feel like should be kind of uncomfortable because of how you tie those laces around your ankle, but that's just me. It just doesn't seem like something that I wouldn't like, that wouldn't be too tight or something.
I've worn them once, and I don't remember them being too bad. I was out for an entire evening until very early in the morning.
Oh, okay.
Wearing them, and there was dancing involved. and it was not too bad. If you, I mean, if you pull them very, very tight, then yeah. But the point of where they're being tied is that it's meant to be on a bit of your leg that it'll have somewhere it can purchase onto anyway, so it's not gonna fall down. So you can't. So you don't have to do it too tight.
I see.
Also, yeah, they're not really meant to be the most comfortable shoes, as Chef says.
They're not, because I find that interesting because they are supposed to be dance shoes, right? Like
Yeah.
that's mostly where
Well,
you're
the
going
laces
to wear
anyway.
them. Sorry?
Yeah. I think it's more the laces that can be uncomfortable, but then you're wearing fit socks on top as well, so they kind of help. I think if they were just on bare skin, I think
Yeah, that would
leather
really
tassels
hurt.
would not be fun.
Yeah. I see. But they do people mostly wear these to a dance, or in what occasions?
Dancing is quite good. They'll definitely wear them for like Highland dancing and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Wearing them to like kind of fancy stuff, but you can also just sort of wear them to whatever event you're going to. Obviously, I wouldn't wear them if I was like going for a hill walk or something.
Yeah,
But,
I mean,
like,
that's they would get destroyed in such a
Yeah.
in those environments.
Anything where I have to look presentable, I guess, you would maybe wear them. You know, basically like you would with leather shoes. What would you wear a leather shoe to? Just that sort of thing.
Okay, makes sense. Give me a comfy pair of trainers any day. Well, you won't wear trainers at a more fancy event, so. Oh yeah,
Up to the wedding, just in trackies and a pair
I'm
of
wearing
Nikes.
a MAGA cap. We did address this before, that Chef always wears a red cap. It seems like.
Oh dear, oh no.
Oh yeah, let's not linger too much on that one. Chef's trademark outfit, yes. And we got the Sporan, which means Gaelic for purse. And they come in such different varieties. That's pretty cool. Starting with, you could just have a very plain black leather one, it looks like, for wearing more casually.
That top black one is mine, basically.
You
That's
don't
just
even
what mine
have
is.
tassels on it, which I find interesting.
I didn't want tassels. I you know, for something that I'm just going to be wearing for like casual stuff, I didn't like the idea of just having just tassels bashing against all the time and getting in the way when I'm trying to open it.
Oh yeah, because the tassels are actually attached to the top flap part.
Yeah.
I thought they were attached to the bottom because they look attached to the lower side of the purse for the dress ones.
Yeah, those ones will be slightly different because they're they don't have a flap on those ones. They kind of click open at the top rather than those ones where they fold over.
True, that makes sense. Right. You have the range of day, the most casual type, and then semi-dress has a flap at the top with fur tassels sometimes. Actually, I wanted to ask, because you also said that the semi-dress ones have a leather gusset, which, by the way, a gusset is like this accordion-like leather piece that folds, like, that is on the sides, that gives you the ability to like open the bag and have it be more spacious. Isn't that also on the day types? I can't tell in the pictures.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, so that's like for...
Just deleted that bit.
Okay. And you also say that the semi-dress ones often have decoration on the flap. So like this, what would you call this? Celtic or Scottish designs.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Or they'll just have little silver bits on them, like the one at the bottom.
Mm-hmm. And like the full dress one is totally different. It's got this metal cantle. You call it a candle. These bits that click together. That's the fanciest one. Is that usually like animal fur?
It usually is, but you can also get more fake fur ones as well.
Mm-hmm.
Which I would probably go for. If I was getting one, I'd prefer to get faux.
Yeah, true. And then you got the horsehair, which is mostly reserved to the regimental attire. Why did you write the Scots underneath in caps?
So that's the abbreviation term for the royal. So you're not having to say Royal Regiment of Scotland over and over again.
Oh, okay. It's a bit confusing because that just makes it sound like you're referring to the entirety of Scotland.
Yeah, I'm just
The
shouting
Scots.
Scots.
The
It's just what we
Scots!
do.
Yeah. Missed the first stream, but where did your interest in this come from? My interest comes from the fact that Angus is very accessible with asking questions. Asking him questions and getting him on stream to explain stuff. That's where it originated.
I think if I remember right, it just came up in just Discord or in chat.
Yeah,
At one point,
I'm not
months
sure
ago,
anymore. Yeah,
when
I
was
think
talking about getting the kilt.
yeah, probably and I probably just asked questions because I think I was also watching like maybe some fashion videos where
You were doing a lot of fashion stuff on one stream, and I asked you if you were interested in fashion stuff and like
yeah, I mean
stuff got
this
into
is
that.
this is particularly to the interest in kilts and tartan because I think I was watching just like what is it called, the dark academia fashion videos, and some of the materials that she was making skirts and dresses out of were basically also kind of a tartan. And I was just like, I like these designs. Angus was like, I posted a picture of my sporan, please reply. Yes, Bart, sure. Yeah, but like I guess I kind of enjoy these topics of like looking at cultural and historical topics and just how much unique different stuff you can find out. Including like this freaking thing. Because it's so weird that you can have thistles on these pins, or you can have a like, is the stag horn just a pin that you put on your kilt? It's not an actual horn, right? It's just like
No, it's actually from a stag.
really?
Oh, no, like you wouldn't blow into it for like it wouldn't be like Boromir in Lord of the Rings.
No, it would be a small piece of horn.
No, it would just be a bit that's come off of a stag, because they naturally just
a
fall
tip.
off, because they shed their antlers and stuff, so it just fall off, or they'd
Yeah.
fight each other and it would fall off, so they can just collect them. And there's
True,
plenty of them in
but this is just like a small bit, like not like an entire horn.
Yeah, it's probably like half the size of your microphone.
Well, that's still pretty large.
It's pretty large. My kilt pin arrived. I think I put that in Discord as well. My one arrived just the other day, and I was actually kind of shocked by how big it is.
The thing is that
Oh,
the image doesn't really like address the scale of it.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Both with this and with this sled is that you can't really say how big it is. Like, for example, in this picture, you see that it looks kind of small actually. Like, it just looks kind of like the length of your finger or something. Like, or even you don't see it in that picture.
About the length of your finger. I think he's actually got the same pin as me.
Oh, yeah?
I see it. Yeah, I think
Weird.
about the same length as like your middle finger, I'd say, is probably about the length of a kilt pin.
Okay, but if it's a horn, it sounds like it could be larger than that.
The horn ones might be a bit longer, yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, and I guess you can have different designs. You can have your clan crest on it, or a sword.
Yeah, I went for a basket-hilted sword, which is a sort of a regimental sword from the 1800s.
Does that have any specific tie to the Duncan clan, or did you just like the design?
The Duncans would have been involved in many different sort of battles. I'm fairly sure they were Jacobites, so they would have used it. And also it's regimental. I come from a military family, so it just seemed right. And
I
also
see.
It kind of looks cool, so.
All right, I see. Moving on to hose. I just like how comfy they look.
What a sentence. Now we move on to hose.
Look, I am talking about socks, okay? Wool socks, nothing else. Right. You can have here different, like most of the time they are in a single color,
Yeah.
but you can also have diced or argyle. These are kind of well, okay, argyle is maybe in the same pattern as your kilts, and diced is the design that the Royal Regiment would wear.
Mahos.
Hose. Yeah, and they have this top bit that folds over. It's interesting, this red one actually has, it looks like it's weaved, it's knitted differently on the other side. Yeah, I guess the top bit.
These are all from like different manufacturing companies, so different ones will have different designs on them, and it'll also depend on what kind of wool they use.
Yeah, but I guess typically they weave the top bit like this the sleeve in a slightly different pattern.
Yeah.
This one is something you're gonna have to pronounce because I cannot.
Skiandu.
Skiandu, the ceremonial dagger, which is kind of strange because you place this inside your wool socks, and only like the top bit of the handle is visible. And still, it's such a it can be such an intricate knife. Like, is this this is the one that you got? Is that part the hilt? I guess it's the hilt. We don't actually see how the blade looks, but
yeah, the blade basically just looks like a dull looking WhatsApp blade. It's not like a very sharp blade.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's a sheath, not the hilt. Sorry, my sword terms, my iron are rusty. Okay, and you can also have like stag antler be on the handle.
Yeah, which I think if you have a more maybe brown looking tartan, that would maybe look pretty cool. I felt mine maybe looked better with something a bit darker.
And you got the hats, the tammy that Spider-Cat is wearing, that has a bauble. They always have baubles, right? Oh, and they have a wooden disc inside to give it the round shape. Really?
So they'd use the wooden. Yes, they'd put the disc inside. Well, they'd take it out after, but to make sure that the shape is right, they'd put it inside, then do around it, tighten it up, and take it out again.
Oh, so you don't keep this disc inside afterwards.
Yeah, so that the top bit is wider than the bit at the bottom. So it's a bit more rounded looking.
Somehow I thought that it had like a wooden disc thing in the bit that sits on your head, which would be very weird.
I think that would count as a lethal weapon.
Almost. Although with the bonnet ones, this bit that sits on your head just feels like so stiff that I don't actually know if they put something in there to structurally hold it.
I think that's definitely got like a harder fabric put around it, like you would find on like fedoras and stuff, or cowboy hats.
So you got the Balmoral bonnet. It actually has also ribbons. I just wanted to look at these because the more you go to the right, the more intricate the ribbons get. Here you have kind of like the more or less like normal ribbon, but I actually initially I didn't see this clearly because it's like black, but this is actually a ribbon. It's actually called, what was it? A rosette cockade.
Yeah.
It's like it's kind of like a circle of fabric that is it actually a circle? 3 circles of fabric that are ruffled up and placed on top of each other, something like this.
Oh yeah. I can see what you mean now. Yeah. So yeah, basically that.
And it's a military cap.
Yeah, this is what the Royal Regiment wear.
So it says that it's decorated with a turi on top. What is a turi?
Turi is the Scots word for a pom-pom, so the little bit at the top.
Because I don't see that on the Glengarry bonnet. Do they actually have the Turi? At least not in this picture, it doesn't seem to have it.
I think that's because it's on its side and it's what do you call it? It's been collapsed in, so you can't see it. But there's a red one in the middle.
Hmm.
If
So
it was
you
standing
always
on
get
the
a
light, you could see
Turi
it.
on these hats. A little
It just looks
bubble.
fun. You have to have it. It's just fun.
True.
It'd be boring otherwise. Then why bother?
Yeah, I never have bubbles on my hats, weirdly enough. Maybe I should start.
You need more bubbles.
Crest
I'm saying that I
badges.
don't have any.
Yeah, right. Do you actually like what kind of hats do you own?
I have a fedora type hat, and then I have a lot of beanies.
Could you wear a fedora with your kilt outfit? Or would that be weird?
I mean, it might look okay. It'd look quite formal. I'd have to take it off once I'm like indoors or something, but I think if I'm outdoors and it's raining or something, then yeah, it would look fine.
Are these other hats formal or not? Especially the Tammy. Is it like
Tammy, definitely not. That's just one that you'd wear. People would just wear that just in the winter.
mm-hmm.
Balmoral, that's probably a bit more formal. I think clan chiefs tend to wear that. And then obviously Glengarry is very formal because it's a regimental one.
Yeah, but is that something that you would ever wear as a non-military person, or is it just fully reserved to military?
Probably reserved. I mean, you could probably wear it if you took away like the crest on it, the military crest, but even then people would just assume you're in the military.
Gotcha. So about the crests, so interestingly, crests are, yeah, I mean, crest indicates the clan you're part of, or yeah, they show your allegiance to a specific clan, and it has a motto and a crest part, heraldic crest, and they are protected by law in Scotland. So only that the clan chief can wear a specific crest, but people from the clan can wear a version of that crest that contains a buckle, a belt buckle in it, which is such a small detail to include in there. Yeah, but the one that's legally entitled is the one that the clan chief wears, right? Like if you're going around wearing one with the belt buckle, you're not infringing on heraldic law or what?
No, you wouldn't get well, I mean, the average police officer probably wouldn't stop you, but if you just so happened to walk past somebody who knew about this stuff, they would ask you like, are you impersonating somebody who's basically of the noble class? You know, they're part of the British noble establishment, and this is their birthright, blah 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 blah, and it's protected by law. So why are you wearing it? And then in that case, you might get in trouble, especially if you're pretending that you're someone important. I think generally, if you were wearing it, you would probably just kind of get told off and told not to do it again. But if you were definitely going around like doing websites and social media stuff and pretending you were somebody you're not, then you'd probably be in pretty big trouble.
I mean, it's kind of interesting because like this feels quite strange to me as like not being familiar or not, let's say not living in countries so far that have such like a stress put on nobility or like historical heritage in this way. It feels kind of weird to say, okay, I am nobility and I show that through these signs.
I mean, you're right. It's very weird. I live here, and it's very weird.
Yeah.
It's very odd. I mean, it's not like a massive part of everyday life, but at the same time, like it's there. I mean, it's on your banknotes or whatever. Like if you get like a pound coin or something, like there's a king on it.
True.
It's his face, and you're not allowed to copy that face for commercial reasons.
But these like our clan chiefs basically always nobility? Are they always like very wealthy? Or what's generally the
They'll have inherited wealth.
yeah.
They'll have inherited wealth from like many years ago. There was a time back in like the 1500s or 1400s, around about that time, when clan chiefs would have also become part of sort of Scottish and then British noble class. So they wouldn't have just been clan chiefs who happened to be in charge of a clan somewhere in the Highlands. They would also be the Earl of, or the Baron of, or the Lord of, whatever. And they would become part of that whole system that we still have today. Like there's some clan chiefs who their official title is the 21st Earl of wherever.
Mm-hmm.
And then also clan chief of blah, blah, blah. And they still own these estates and have these inherited titles and clan crests and all these things. It's very odd.
Yeah, I see. I mean, this is kind of also the next topic, basically what clans are, and I think we already kind of talked a little bit about how clans came to be and what were they made up of. So not necessarily always people that were directly descending from a specific person, but people who also worked or lived in a specific region and were kind of like under the control and leadership of a specific family. The names were interesting because people didn't necessarily have surnames back then. They would just adopt the surname of like something that just meant son of X, like son of Donald would be called MacDonald. Or the people living in that region or being under the control of that clan would also adopt the name to just show that they are loyal to the clan.
Yeah, and not
yeah.
everyone would do that, but like a lot of people would have done that, and particularly the sort of the nobility of the clan. So people just underneath the chief and people that did all of the sort of managerial type work for the clans would adopt MacDonald because they would be seen as sort of part of that wider elite of the clan.
Mm-hmm.
And then would maybe go on later to have the regional stuff. Like earlier we looked at the regional clans of Stuarts. There would be regional MacDonald clans as well, so they would take the name of MacDonald and lead a regional clan on their behalf. And then at the bottom we have one of those people, Godfrey James MacDonald, the 8th Baron of MacDonald of Sleat, who is right now the High Chief of Donald, which is very weird.
But you have MacDonald of Sleat, so is that kind of like one of those regions where there was like a sub-clan of the MacDonalds?
Yeah, so Sleat would have been the region of whichever MacDonald, but it just so happens that this guy also, if you go back far enough genealogically, would be a descendant of the wider MacDonald clan. So he's recognized as the High Chief. He's not just a chief of Clan Donald, he's the High Chief. He oversees all of the different regional aspects of Clan Donald.
Mm-hmm. I had pulled up the clan chiefs gathering here. I actually wanted to address like what do clan chiefs do these days, because they still exist, but they are mostly doing cultural representation stuff. So they basically just carry forward the cultural like clan's heritage basically. And this gathering was for paying their respects to those who died at the Battle of Flodden in 1513. So they just kind of hang out in Kilts and commemorate historical events. That's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think this was a really big one. Battle of Flodden was like the last proper war between Scotland and England, and it didn't go very well for us. And yeah, a lot of people died, and quite a few of them would have been clans, particularly Clan Stuart, because they were the ones in charge of Scotland at the time.
Oh.
So yeah, and a lot of them decided to come and commemorate the 500-year event of it at the High Kirk in Edinburgh.
Oh yeah, because it was 500 years since, yeah. There's also an annual gathering of the Clan Society. So there is a yearly event as well where kind of all clan chiefs meet, or what happens then?
It's mostly clan chiefs and also people who are members of the clan. If they, if there'll be different clan societies for the different clans in Scotland and also in other countries, particularly in America and Australia. They tend to be very, very big, having these clan societies to kind of reconnect with, ancient culture and ancestors, that sort of thing. Very American thing.
So are you
And
saying
we'll do-
that there are several societies? Like
Yes, so there'll be obviously the main one will be in Scotland, because it's the homeland one. But then there'll be societies set up in America that will have connections with the ones in Scotland as well. But celebrating Scottish culture in the unique American way from the perspective of like our ancestors who came over and why they came over and stuff, whereas obviously we're commemorating the culture that used to exist.
Mm-hmm. How many clan chiefs roughly still exist or are recognized? I'm just kind of trying to assess because there is a council of them apparently,
Yeah.
and there is.
I'm
Yeah.
interested.
I mean, I'm asking some very random questions that you couldn't have prepared for, but
No, it's fine. Well, to be fair, that one I did have a group of them standing out in the open. I could have probably predicted that one if I tried hard enough.
I mean, are
Yeah,
these
that's
all the
right.
clan chiefs? Is the question, you know?
It won't be all of them, I think. I think it'll be enough of them, and some of them, I don't know how many of them will actually all be clan chiefs. Some of them might be their subordinates that they've sent in their place, but I think these are all definitely clan chiefs. Some of them might not be anymore. Some of them might have passed since this photo was taken. It was 10 years ago.
Yeah, true. I don't know if I can roughly say maybe these are like 50 without like actually counting. I'll
Here we are.
venture.
There are 104. Standing Council of Chiefs includes 135 chiefs.
Oh, okay. That's
So
quite
about
a
140
bit.
of them.
And this is the Standing Council of Scottish Chiefs, which is the definitive like kind of council for, I don't know, what would you call this? The protectors and advocates of Scottish clan heritage, something like this.
I think it's partly heritage. I think it's mostly to do with mostly protecting the status they have.
Oh, so it's rather
We must protect our protecting our status of our titles, making sure that people aren't impersonating us, making sure that when the royal family or more specifically the king wants to change anything to do with, or even Parliament wants to change anything about how titles are handled and how coats of arms and all of the things that represent the elite in the UK, sort of making sure that they have a voice in that discussion, so that things aren't just happening to what they claim to be their hereditary rights. 'Cause
Okay.
for some of these people, these are things that have been passed down for 20 generations, so they don't want people messing with them. Whether that's a good thing or not, is open to people's interpretation. But for them, obviously, it's very important to them that they continue to have the rights and the privileges that they have right now.
Yeah, I see. Also, check out these freaking feathers. Wow. Because I do remember that clan chiefs are the only ones allowed to wear feathers in their hats, if I recall that correctly. Although I see that not everybody's doing that in this picture. But this guy has massive ones. This guy too, I think, is that also a feather? Yeah.
Yeah, so they'll have 3 eagle feathers in their hats if they choose to wear them. And that basically signifies that they're a chief.
I'm kind of disappointed that most of them chose not to do it. Most of them don't even have hats in this picture. And the ones that do also mostly went without the eagle feathers. There's some magnificent sideburns middle left. Let me see if I spot them. Middle left? I don't see. What? Do you see them? I don't know what Monkey is talking about.
I'm trying to look for them as well.
Monkey, I'm sorry, I cannot find the sideburns, and I do regret that. But if you saw them, I'm happy for you.
I wonder if they might not be wearing hats and stuff just because they think they're at more of a funereal type thing. It's a bit more somber, maybe. So they don't want to be wearing them for that kind of event. I think if they were going to like a clan gathering or something, they'd definitely have them on. But for something like this, it's maybe a bit more low key.
Oh, really? Because I thought that typically not wearing your hat is kind of like not is like a sign of disrespect, but that might be a different kind of cultural association.
They maybe just can't be bothered as well. I mean, these guys are in charge and they're rich, so
yeah, they can do whatever they want
if they want to or not. Nobody can tell them not to.
That's true. They kind of make the rules there. I think we didn't address. Actually, we can address like who the Lord Lion is, and then we can go back a little bit to.
I don't think we have yet.
Yeah. So the Lord Lion seems.
Talk about this absolute legend.
Yeah, because oh my God, those jackets that they're wearing, those are incredibly ornate. I don't know. And it seems like they are actually wearing, like, each of the sections represent, like, I guess Ireland, Scotland, and England and Wales? Am I right?
Yeah, so this is the royal banner in Scotland. So I think we did this on another stream. There's 2 royal banners in the UK. There's one which has got these 4 bits on it.
Mm-hmm.
But one of them's got a different panel in it. But in Scotland, it has 2 lions in both diagonal corners. So they are wearing what is essentially the royal banner in Scotland on their uniform.
Yeah, but this is not exactly the same, you're saying, because this has 3 lions.
Oh, the 3 lions is England.
The 3 lions is England. Okay, then which one is Scotland?
The 2 lion ones that are stood up. So the 2 yellow bits.
Oh, wait. Really? So Scotland is kind of represented diagonally here.
Yes. Yeah.
Where's Wales then?
Wales doesn't get representation because when the coats of arms were made, Wales was part of England. It was annexed in 13 something, unlike Scotland.
I see.
They did annex us, but then we got free.
That's kind of sad though that they don't get to be represented on these things, even though, well, they are also their own thing.
I mean, it's sad for us because it's a dragon, which means we don't get to see a dragon.
Yeah, that's pretty lame. Pretty lame. And then you have, like, this is the Northern Ireland bit, I guess. It's so recognizable because I've actually seen this harp in person in the museum in Dublin.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, that was nice. I think they had this entire hall lined up with busts of famous writers, I guess Irish figures. I mean, I don't have a single clue who they were, but it was imposing. But anyways, who is Lord Lion? What's the deal with this guy? He has a court.
Lord Lion, yes. So Lord Lion is basically the legal guy who is in charge on behalf of the king of the administration and the legal aspects of all of the heraldry in Scotland. So all the stuff to do with earls and barons and proclamations. So when the queen died and the king had to be announced as, well, becoming the king, Lord Lion stood up in Edinburgh and proclaimed to the city that the king has died, the queen has died, and now the king has taken charge.
Wow. But he's just got authority over Scotland, so it's not all the heraldry in the British Isles.
Just in Scotland. But the guy is like a proper legal expert. He's got like 5 or 6 different like titles after his name, like PhD, MDs, that sort of thing. He's
Jesus.
got 5 of those after his name, because you have to really, really know your legal terminology, because it is part of the Scottish legal system. You know that he does have to act as a judge in whatever cases might be brought forward to do with heraldry, and the people that help him with that are called the Court of the Lord Lion, and they're basically responsible for registering all the coat of arms and all the other pieces of heraldry, but also for keeping the genealogical records. So if somebody claims that they're an earl, they will then have the records to show that, yes, we can prove you're an earl because your great, 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 whoever definitely was recorded as being an earl as well. And also in cases of, if somebody wants to claim that they should be the next in line for taking that title, they can then look through the records and say, okay, you're definitely related in some way. So you would have a claim to it if certain people die.
Yeah.
So it's a very niche part of the legal system.
Yeah, but it is it shows yet again this whole kind of like how much they care about succession and titles in the UK, which I mean is not a surprise. I just see that as like it's such an integral part of the culture somehow. I don't know how much it is like this in other monarchies that still exist in Europe. Would be curious.
I don't think it really does, because from what I see of other monarchies, like I keep up with European politics a lot, and inevitably like the monarchy stuff comes up. A lot of the other monarchies are very modern. Like they're not really as involved, and it doesn't seem like there's a billion different counts and earls and things like that. Or like these other monarchs have like day jobs or something, and they don't get massive subsidies for like doing the roles that they do. Like compared to the UK, I think the UK is quite unique when compared to like some of the Scandinavian countries that still have their monarchies.
Yeah, I guess the UK is very they preserve a lot of the historical ceremonial stuff, like having heraldry, having all these insane costumes, insane uniforms, insane like they're the soldiers going on parades wearing really fancy stuff. It's quite interesting, and the whole royal family just feels like it's just there to kind of represent a living artifact of some kind. They don't seem to actually like direct politics so much. I mean, I'm not familiar if they actually still like release statements. I guess they still make statements sometimes on political issues, but it seems like that's more something that the prime minister deals in rather than the royal family.
Yeah, they're not meant to, but occasionally, especially Prince Charles, now king, he was very vocal on a lot of things, and is probably trying very hard not to be right now. But yeah, there's a whole discussion about like the monarchy being involved in politics, which I can rant on for ages. But
I see.
I'm a Republican, so I would.
Yeah, I would be curious what you got to say there, but probably next stream. Because I did kind of want to keep this stream under 3 hours, which will be ending kind of soon. But yeah, so Lord Lion basically keeps the records on the legal aspects of heraldry, genealogical issues, and so they basically are the ones who could confirm or deny lineage claims.
Yeah, all that stuff.
Right, and there was also something about clans without a recognized chief, which are called armigerous families.
Yeah.
Really, really weird word there that I've never encountered before. They do not have a chief recognized by the Lion Court, but they still basically, and that includes your clan apparently, the Duncan one. But this just means that
many years.
Yeah, they had of course they had a clan chief originally, but lineage ended at some point, and now you are not. You do not have one.
Yeah, that's pretty much how they work, and yeah, this is just like a list of some of them. I think there's like basically about 100 odd as well, as many as there are clan chiefs. There's about the same amount of clans that just don't have a chief anymore. So they'll have somebody else who kind of officiates everything and all that sort of thing, but they don't have a chief. They don't get represented in the same way that other clans maybe do.
Mm-hmm. And I wanted to show you guys the Buchanan chief who was recently recognized because they thought that the clan hadn't had a chief since 1681? How did they lose the records for so long?
Well, I don't think it was so much that they lost the records, more that just the family line just died out, and nobody really came forward that could be proven. So just for the longest time, and after it's been like 60 or 70 years after that point, that's by the technology they would have had at the time and the records they would have had at the time, it wouldn't have been very easy to access the information needed to find like a distant second cousin or something
Mm-hmm.
could take over, until around about the 1990s or whenever it would have been that John Buchanan felt that he had a claim to it, and then 30 years later got officially recognized that that was the truth and that he could claim to be the chief 300 years later.
That's pretty wild. And there's Lord Lion over there. I guess this like was the officiating of his chief. What do you call it where when somebody is named chief? The chiefening. Chiefdom, yes.
There was a whole documentary about this as well. They did one on BBC. I watched it the other month. They did a whole documentary about him becoming chief, and then the event that they did, and all the people from like America and a guy from Mexico and other parts of the world, and all the different Buchanan societies coming over to the UK to basically come to a bunch of tents that he put up in his back garden of his mansion to like do the event. And then they went to a tailor to get the new tartan made. This is the new inauguration tartan that they had especially made that his daughter did for him.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Not sure how, like, what else we should say about clans. Is there something else? Because, like, you can, okay, I mean, there's the origins, but since I feel like that's not very, like, that goes into too much detail, is there anything else that we forgot that we could have addressed in the clan discussion? Because otherwise I would do the misconceptions, because those are fun.
I think that's pretty much it. That's all I had written for clans, really.
Okay, then let's see what the misconceptions are, because people probably have them. I mean, we already addressed whether it's offensive to wear a kilt if you're not Scottish or if you live outside of Scotland, but the conclusion is no, that it's not. As long as you're not wearing it in a mocking sort of way, but you're genuinely appreciating its background, or
I would say that
its fashion, let's say. I mean, you also don't really have to know so much about the historical parts, or would it be, I mean, would that be an expectation that if you wear a kilt that you are expected to still be very like educated in the topic? Maybe that's another question.
I mean, if you lived in America, maybe. If you were in America or one of the other places where Scottish people migrated to, then they tend to, if you look at the social medias of the different things about tartan, they tend to be a bit more concerned about that sort of thing. But in Scotland, if you ask them the history of tartan or kilts or anything, they'd probably just say, I don't know, people up north used to wear them sometimes.
So they're also
for
not
reasons, and
very.
they fought in them a lot.
I see. So actually, they're not so protective of them in Scotland or in the UK as they would be in the States.
Yeah, because we're not really bothered by them. We just wear them.
Mm-hmm.
Like we put them on. We go to a wedding, and then we just like put trousers back on. Like we just sort of have them. Some people might care a bit more in terms of like if like for me and my family, if we know what our family connections are, and we're proud of them, then maybe might give more of a damn about it. But generally, I don't think a lot of people really know too much about the whole history. Like they'll know enough about it that they'll be proud of it. Like obviously, if we're talking to each other, we'll take the piss out of each other about it because that's what we do. But if somebody else, and especially if they tend to have an English accent, not to sound Anglophobic, but you know, the stereotype is there. You know, if they were to start making fun of it and saying you're wearing a skirt, then people might start being a bit, maybe not offended, but like slightly annoyed, like, oh yeah, here we go.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like if you're being a jerk, that's going to like be annoying. But
yeah,
rather, I'm still trying to get a measure of like how insulting it might be if, let's say, you have nothing to do with a specific clan, and yet you decide to wear tartan pattern associated with it. Like in your example, if somebody who has no association whatsoever with Clan Duncan would just be like, yeah, I'm going to make myself a kilt and wear it, and it's in that pattern.
I mean, unless you were a member of that clan and you knew about it, most people in Scotland probably wouldn't be able to tell
Yeah.
that it's a clan one. But even then, if it was somebody from Clan Duncan, it would depend on like if they were like being mocking about it in some way.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's difficult to say. Like if it's somebody who's like very traditionalist and they're just like, well, why would you be wearing that if you're not a Duncan? But then in the case of my family, you have to go back many generations to find actual named Duncans. So by that measure, I shouldn't be wearing it. But most people don't really care about that. They just see a pattern that people maybe want to wear. I think at the very least, if it's a clan tartan, maybe know that it's a clan tartan and know the name of it. You don't have to be able to rattle off like a 500-page essay on it, but like just maybe know that it's a clan one and just like I like the look of that as a cool name. I don't know, just something like that. As long as you're not mocking it or anything.
Yeah, I think I understand.
I think most people just wouldn't care, basically.
Yeah, I mean that sounds much more relaxed than you would think. I mean, it's yeah. And also like another myth is that whether you need to wear your family's clan tartan, if you decide to wear a kilt at all, it would have to be in that specific pattern. But this is not true either, is it?
No. From watching a lot of the USA kilt videos, they get this question a lot because obviously it's a very American mindset that they maybe have from their perception of what clans and tartans and things are, that they're very rigid.
Yeah, because maybe also Americans in general concern themselves a lot more with like, let's say copyright, or if somebody's allowed to use something. I don't know if that's accurate or if that's just me encouraging stereotypes. But I'm just wondering if that's where that comes from. The mentality of you're not allowed to. Yeah.
The way it's described, I think it's more just like from a moral point of view. Like it wouldn't be right. It wouldn't, it wouldn't be good to do that. It would be offensive somehow.
Okay.
But from watching them talk about like the differences between Scotland and the US and other countries where Scots immigrated, people in Scotland, young people tend to be not so bothered about clan stuff. They're going more for like the fashion kind of tartans. So like the Highland granite sort of things. I think Highland granite as a collection, like all the different coloured ones, are becoming very popular for weddings and stuff now.
Mm-hmm.
for young people. And then other ones like the tweed ones, they're becoming very fashionable because they're new and they have that grainy texture. They look different. So they're just something a bit more fun and unique to wear. So it seems like young people in Scotland are moving towards, they're wearing the kilt more. They're wanting to wear the kilt to stuff like the football or to like a fancy event or something more than they maybe would have in the past.
Mm-hmm.
But they're also not bothered about clan ones because they just want something that looks good.
Right. So they'll often just wear universal ones or whatever they fancy, basically.
Or they'll wear a clan one that they happen to like the look of.
Mm-hmm. So again, not necessarily that they're affiliated with the clan, but they like it simply. But it would be would be good to at least know which clan's pattern you're wearing, so not just be like totally ignorant about it, I suppose. What about this misconception? An Englishman invented the kilt.
Yeah, I think Shark Dog brought this one up earlier.
Oh yeah, I might have missed that message. But so what you said here is rather than, that is not entirely clear if an English person actually invented it, because it was already, this person, Thomas Rawlinson, was operating in Scotland in the 1730s. He set up an ironworks.
So just a factory for like, metalwork and stuff. Like the Industrial Revolution is building up.
Oh, so he had a factory where his workers and himself would wear the great kilts, basically. And because they found that too cumbersome, he came up with a way of assembling the kilt, removing the upper part, and basically kind of tailoring it the way it's worn these days. But it's not clear historically if he actually came up with this cut or if it was already worn decades before that way.
Yeah, the thought behind it is that there's some evidence from like pictures and portraits that have been done and from people that were from like oral traditions of talking down their history over years, saying that people would wear the kilt without doing the upper bit because it would be a bit easier. But because Rowlandson, it's basically a document saying to somebody down in England about I've done the kilt this way. I think this would be a good way of producing it for doing ironworks and stuff, something like that. But the document is from a few years after he died. If I'm remembering rightly, it's a few years after he died and somebody else delivered it on his behalf. And then it took another like 30 years or something for the letter to be published.
Wow,
so
that letter,
clear if he wrote it or not.
Oh, so it might have been.
To be fair, he probably did write it, and he definitely did do all of this. It's just whether or not he did it first. I think from the way that I read it, he probably did do it, and he probably was one of the earliest people to do it. But he was also wealthy, and he had connections, which means that obviously there would be written evidence of him doing it, as opposed to a random person who lives in the Highlands, or maybe some other clan chief at the time who would have also done it that way. There is some portrait evidence to suggest that maybe a few of them did already do it this way. So people tend to say that instead of he invented the kilt, he is the first documentation of it being made, but also there was already a transition happening of it changing, because obviously the stuff with the military was happening at the same time, where they were changing the kilt because, trying to move around in the battlefield when you've got a giant bit of cloth over you when you're trying to get your gun out is a bit difficult.
Yeah.
So he might have done it, he might not have done it, basically.
This is not really a misconception anymore, but I did have a question about because at some point in history, kilts were reserved to just the military in Scotland. And I think I wanted to also address why that happened and when that changed again. I'm trying to find the section where this was in the document, but
It will be the very bottom page. Dress Act 1746.
oh yeah, it's the Act of Prescription and Dress Act 1746, and it was imposed by the British monarchy. So forbade common men from wearing Highland wear unless they served in the British Army. But why would the British monarchy do this? Is kind of strange to me.
So this was after the big rebellions had been happening, where the people who supported Bonnie Prince Charlie and his father wanted him to be king instead of, at the time it would have been George the First or George the Second, who were the German monarchs who took over because they were Protestants and not Catholics. So they were brought in instead by the sort of British nobility because they didn't want a Catholic in charge because they were a Protestant country.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of wars that happened, and eventually, through propaganda, kilts and tartan just sort of became the symbols of unruly Highlanders who want to destroy the Hanoverian British monarchy way of life. So to crack down on that, part of it was to just stop them from wearing it, unless they served in the British Army, fighting for him instead of against him.
That was the twist, because it wasn't about being in the military, it was about being in the British Army, so that if you wanted to wear the clothes that you were, well, proud to wear or used to wear, you could only do it from that situation.
Yeah. Well, and this was if you were a commoner. So if you were a woman, you could wear certain tartan things because obviously you're a woman, you're not going to fight, is the thinking at the time. Like when, women aren't going to take up arms against us, it's only men that do the fighting and all that other rubbish.
Sure.
People of the nobility, they could wear it because they had already swore their allegiance to the king. So, if they could afford it, they could wear what they want. No problems. As long as they don't raise an army against them, then they don't mind. So it was basically just common clansfolk.
Yeah, I see. And this situation changed. I think we already mentioned this, but this was George the Fourth in 1822 is when that. So almost a century later. So Sir Walter Scott, the novelist, was basically encouraged the king to recover the honors of Scotland. The honors of Scotland, is that something?
The crown jewels.
The crown jewels, right. But was this also when the kilt was kind of restored as something that everybody could wear? Or did that happen even later than this?
Yeah, it's slightly strange because what happens is about 30 years after the prescriptions are brought in, they're disbanded again.
Oh.
But because it's been enough time and people either don't live in Scotland anymore because they've moved off to the Americas where they can do whatever they want, or they're in the army already, or they just don't care about wearing it. They just don't bother wearing tartan anymore. Or if they do wear tartan, it's mostly the rich people who are now romanticizing the idea of the way that life used to be. People like Walter Scott. And then later down the line, Walter Scott comes along and he starts writing about the way that things used to be and about how great tartan is and the Scottish Highland way of life. And King George IV famously was not the smartest monarch and also kind of enjoyed not really ruling so much as he just enjoyed having fun.
Oh.
So the idea of being able to dress up and also this romantic idea that, these people who live in the Highlands and they You know, they're not bothered by the everyday life of working and working the machines and all that sort of thing. They're not industrialists. They're just simple folk who live and pick flowers and whatever, and they fight heroically for each other, to have like an ancient sort of simpler human existence rather than the modern one that was very like romantic, you know, like the sort of escape to the countryside kind of vibe to them.
Yeah, as if
And
that's
like
actually
that
easy.
for whatever reason.
Yeah, I see.
And then he wore tartan, which means that all of the nobility suddenly want to wear it, and all of the nobility suddenly want to care about their clans and everything, because that's the popular thing.
Yeah, I guess that was also when, I'm not sure if that's also when maybe a lot of people kind of pretended to have joined specific clans. I think we'd never touch on septs.
Yeah, no, I don't think we have. A sept is basically a family that joins a clan. So they'd have a different surname or a different collective group name, and they would join the clan because they want the protection of the clan. They might live in different territory, but they swear their loyalty to the clan chief, so he grants them protection. And then by the time of Walter Scott, there's a lot of people who don't have a lot of nobility who maybe don't have a clan name. For
Yeah.
example, maybe they live in the lowlands of Scotland where the clans weren't a massive thing, and tartan wasn't really a thing, and kilt wearing was definitely not a thing. Because why would you wear a kilt when you're in relatively mild weather, and also you live in an industrial city? You don't need to wear something that's for the Highlands and the Islands. So suddenly these people feel the need to have this connection because the king likes it. All the other nobility are doing it. They don't want to be left out. So a lot of family names ended up being septs of different clans. But because there was sort of a rush for people to associate with them, some sept names are attributed to like 7 other clans or something.
Wow, okay.
So you have to kind of figure out, like, okay, where did my family live? Okay, so they were a sept of that clan then, because they lived there. Which is probably not entirely how it would have worked. But then that way they could wear the clan tartan because they were a sept of it. They might not have lived there or have the same name as, you know, they might not be called Duncan or McGregor, but they're a sept of the clan, so I can wear that tartan and I can proudly say that I'm associated with them, sort of thing.
Yeah, I guess that's that was more of a rush of having the bragging rights to wear something rather than there being historical evidence of affiliation between these groups. Kind of funny.
Yeah, exactly. It was bragging rights. I mean, there's some historical truth to it, but there's also a lot of people just wanting to brag.
Yeah, that's the usual. I'm looking to see if we have any other misconceptions we didn't address. We did address the one about identifying affiliation, because we said plants worn on their caps on top of poles. Oh, this also had magical protection, it says. So that's also why they would wear plants going into fighting and stuff like that. And then there, I guess, yeah, we have 2 more actually. We have the one about whether earth-toned tartans with browns and grays and such are more historically accurate, which I think we kind of addressed that actually they weren't, because more historically accurate were actually the ones that were quite brightly colored. So the ones that are modern and ancient, like this is more the historical way in which they would have been encountered. And then stuff about Braveheart. Sir William Wallace in the movie wearing blue war paint and a great kilt in 1297.
Yeah, that's the great fun one that always gets brought up when anyone talks about kilts. It's the film that every Scottish person pretends to hate and then watches like every year, and then shouts
Really?
freedom at.
Yeah, is that? I mean, do you watch it every year?
I've never watched that.
You've
I've
never
seen
watched
enough
it.
clips from it, and I've definitely seen the freedom clip like plenty of times. I mean, if you spend enough time around like very English people as well, eventually, like the freedom thing will come up, and it's quite funny. So
Okay, but
it's like the Scottish stereotype that isn't deep frying everything.
that and it's basically like there was no war paint that Scots would wear, right? Or did they wear war paint at all?
They would have worn war paint about 400 years before William Wallace was born, and before Scotland existed,
Mm-hmm.
because it was the Pictish tribals who lived in Scotland. The word Picti is the Roman word for painted on or tattooed warrior.
Oh, I didn't know that.
The warriors that they encountered seemed to tattoo or paint themselves with blue war paint before going into battle against the Romans.
Right. So those were the people actually using like blue war paint and such, but they were basically not around anymore during the time that this movie is portraying.
Yeah, they'd been long culturally assimilated by the people that moved in, who would eventually become Scottish people.
Mm-hmm. And it also says here that William Wallace was not actually from the Highlands. He was born and raised in the lowlands, Anglo-Norman lowlands. So he wasn't going to wear a kilt. He was going to wear like proper armor, like how you picture medieval armor, I suppose, right? Like chainmail. If he was going to be shown accurately.
Yeah, he was born into a time where he was a noble. He was a lower noble knight, so he would have been given chainmails and tunics and stuff like that to fight with, rather than just wearing levers or anything else that like people of a lower class might have been wearing. And also, he wouldn't have spoken Gaelic or all that sort of thing.
I'm just looking for like an image that would have been more accurate of how he would have been been dressed.
I think if you Google Wallace Monument statue, that might
In
show up.
Aberdeen? No, that looks very strange. Where maybe is this accurate? He's wearing chainmail from top to bottom.
Yeah, that's a bit more what he would have looked like, probably.
Well, there you go. Nothing like this guy. Oh gosh. Well, yeah. All right, but I think that is it for today. I'm kind of
I think
dead.
we've covered everything. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad because I guess I do have to go get some dinner and some rest. Thanks for putting all of this stuff together. I think I will want to like
a lot of fun.
I'm really glad about that, and also I'm glad that like we have this stuff centralized in these documents, because I think I will check this out again later. Like when there's more time, but just having the reference there is very helpful. Chef, don't shout, Chef. It's evening. Gotta be chill. You're welcome, Angus shouting back. Well, fair enough. Actually, now that we are done with the serious bits, I can turn on the alerts again. Imagine that. Guys, do you wanna use the alerts?
The alerts can do it.
Yeah, here you have all your alerts back. Everything is re-enabled. Now you can let loose. Check you out your new name, Angus. What have you been renamed to? Oh gosh.
Jeff, what have you done?
Oh no. Now you're Kingusi. But that's not even how you spell it. It's Kingusi. Close enough. Yeah.
My actual god.
Yeah, well...
Jeff, why the frick?
because you're Gussy anyways, I guess, in several servers. This was
Yeah, and I'm a king now.
yeah,
I'm a
you
king.
are.
You've accidentally made me a king.
Maybe it wasn't so accidental. Well, congratulations.
The document has a thank you. The document has a lot of links in it as well, which I guess some of them could be shared in Discord somewhere if people really want them.
Yeah. I think we can definitely share some of them. We can share like
Oh, do you know what we've not looked at?
oh
We've not looked at the best tartan that's there. The bottom.
oh the bottom link. Also, I don't see my cursor anymore. Just give me a second because it's bugging out. What's going on? Oh, you mean the video about Xbox or what? Is that what you mean? Oh my god, yeah, we have to watch this video. Because this is
I have
ridiculous.
seen some of these tartans.
What? Some of them?
Shop.
Oh, there's several designs? Holy shit. Bet you'd love that being Scottish. Yeah, Angus, King of Scots. Alright, I'm gonna play this. That's a bit loud.
When we first saw the finished controller, we were buzzing. We created something totally contemporary that was somehow stuck in the past at the same time. And we loved that.
Fucking hell.
Tartans had such a long history in Scotland, and I think we're seeing it re-emerge as something new and exciting.
When I started this business, I had no idea I was going to work with Xbox. We do get asked bizarre things to do, but this has been one of the most exciting.
It allowed us to bring it to a younger audience that may have just seen the kilt as something that their dad would wear to a wedding, and open it up to a young audience and even a more global audience.
Gordon told me he was designing the tartan for Xbox and it would need to go on the controller.
Yeah, it's got the Xbox colors.
I was very excited and very honoured to be asked in the first place. It looked at as a challenge to get a tartan, which is going to be quite unique, onto a controller.
This tartan was by far one of the most exciting, but one of the most challenging that we have designed. It was so intricate.
First of all, we have to get the dies right, linked in with Xbox. So the die process takes 2 weeks. The looms are set up by hand. We chose Locharan to weave the tartan, the oldest weaving mill in Scotland.
It's just the top that we are covering in the tartan.
It was quite a challenge to get on the controller. Tartan is quite thick and the controller is quite fine.
And then we're popping the sides back on, and then in the end it looks like this, and it's all nice together and it looks great with the fabric.
I'm extremely happy. It just looks amazing.
I just worry that thing's gonna start ripping
The traditional aspect of
very soon.
to something that's much more modern.
Yeah. I feel like you're doing like Call of Duty or something. Then that's not gonna last long.
Yeah, but I guess interesting novelty controller there. But what other designs did they have? Because you said there were several of them.
Oh, did I say designs? I meant like the different merch that they've got. So it's not just a controller. They've got like wallets and keychains and scarves and all sorts. They've got a whole like booth in their shop.
Oh, I see. This is in Edinburgh or what?
Yeah, it's in Edinburgh.
Okay, because I see now. So they just like had this design made and then they just kind of like went all out with stuff they made in it. Ah, there you have it. The keychains and wallets and stuff. There, I found a picture. Found this in Scotland a few days ago. Yeah, and there you go. You can go to the Xbox store and buy yourself things. I mean, the pattern is nice. All right, well that's that.
Ending on a high note.
Ending on a high note, exactly. I think, let's see. Doing a rage. Let's rage Shark Dog, who is also actually streaming right now. This time we're gonna finally catch some Shark Dog stream because I very rarely actually make it. Wait, I'm typing Shark Dog 69. No, it's 58. It's 69 minus 11. That's how I like to call that username. And because it's Shark Dog.
How you remember it?
Kinda, actually.
69 take 11.
I mean, it's a very helpful mnemonic, isn't it? Anyways, with Shark Dog, you can use all the raid messages because Shark Dog knows what to expect from us. I've just recently realized that when I do a raid, that I maybe shouldn't just like encourage people to use all of my raid messages because some of them could be interpreted in a kind of like an offensive way. Like,
Yeah, 3 and 4.
yeah, like 3 and 4, a little bit. It takes a little bit of familiarity with the stream to not take that very wrong. So, yeah, I'm thinking in general maybe I won't use those. But because for people that
Just
are
for G. Just use them for G.
yeah, for G that's totally not a I won't have any concerns, but
Thank you for having me on. And
thank you for
talking
being
absolute
here.
Rubbish about stuff.
Hey, this time it wasn't absolute rubbish. We actually didn't get so derailed, but it was fun.
Yeah.
And we'll do this again sometime. And yeah, bye bye.
Bye bye.